Blog Talk Radio.
Now, get up out your seats. Coming to the ring. Now, but I'm wondering if you can bring it. One win. Bosses. Undefeated in the streets. Weighing in over 300 pounds. IHWE Radio. Round bell is ringing in the ring, then I be singing. I'm here to get that crowd loud. I'm wondering if you can bring it. The round bell is ringing in the ring, then I be singing. But I'm here to get that crowd loud. But I'm wondering if you can bring it. When the round bell is ringing in the ring, then I be singing. I'm here to get that crowd loud. I'm wondering if you can bring it. When the round bell is ringing in the ring, then I be singing. But I'm here to get that crowd loud. But I'm wondering if you can bring it.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to IHWE Radio 1 Year Anniversary Show. I am your host, Michael McCurdy, creator and author of Encyclopedia WCCW, and joining me, as always, behind the walls of Camp Sousa, undisclosed location, right here behind the red with curtain, my co-host, Joe Sousa. Joe, how are you doing tonight?
Oh, I am doing wonderful, Mike. 1 year anniversary. The star-studded show tonight. I mean, we have so much to do, so little time, so let's get started.
Truer words were never spoken. Really quickly, though, I want to bring on the third member of our broadcast team, our human history book, Mr. Brian Westcott.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Big Shelf Show. It's IHWE Radio 1 year anniversary, big name guests. Yeah, I agree with Joe. Let's get to it.
That's exactly what we are going to do. We are already being joined by two top-name legendary guests here. First off, a man synonymous with professional wrestling, the Four Horsemen, with the four. I'm a little bit too excited here, folks. Synonymous with professional wrestling, the leader of the Four Horsemen, joined us back in November for an interview. Back with us tonight for our 1 year anniversary, Mr. James J. Dillon. JJ, how are you doing tonight?
Great. Good evening. I'm thrilled to be a guest again on your 1 year anniversary. I feel honored.
Well, thank you for joining us, man. We have a star-studded lineup, as we've already said a couple times tonight, and I'm already getting a little tongue-tied with just all the star power that I have listed in front of me. But we're going to continue on here. We have another guest. Yes, we have another guest on the line. Another name synonymous with professional wrestling. Former NWA World Heavyweight Champion, a former King of the Ring, and one of the toughest men in professional wrestling, Mr. Harley Race.
Hey,
Harley, welcome to IHWE Radio. How are you doing today?
I don't want to correct you guys right out of the chute, but I think you should have said 8 times NWA World Heavyweight Champion Harley Race.
Thank you, JJ.
Thank you, JJ. I appreciate that.
Hey, Brian, I'm a bit of a historian too, and I've known Harley for a long time, going back to Japan in the 70s, and when he was touring as world champion, and being able to go down the road with him, and later on spent a year in Kansas City with Bob Geigel and Pat O'Connor when Harley was mainly on the road, and then also in Florida when because of the untimely death of Bobby Shane, Harley jumped in to take over the creative reins and help with the matchmaking and everything, and showed that he has a lot of talent with that dimension as well, in addition to being a great ring general.
Definitely one of a kind.
Yeah, I
appreciate all the pats on the back, and JJ, you were a Cadillac in that ring yourself, my friend. You could pull a match out of just about any kid or anyone that ever walked in the ring with you. You got that to be proud of, and I want the wrestling world to know that.
Well, coming from you, Harley, that means a lot to me personally. And again, everything that I said about you were not pats on the back. They were the truth. You had such a storied career and have really done it all. And I'm from the generation where the NWA World Heavyweight Championship really, really meant something. And for you to have held that title 8 times and to have traveled all over the world defending it, it puts you in a very elite level. And somebody said one of the toughest guys, and I'll second that too. And I just feel very fortunate that if my career was during the time that I was able to rub elbows and be with you and with people like Jack Briscoe and Dory Funk and Terry Funk and Dusty Rhodes, and just these were the elite, and as world champions you were at a level above the rest of us, and to be honest with you, I learned a lot over the years just being around you and watching you, aside from just being a fan of watching what you did in the ring.
Well, I appreciate that very, very much, my friend. And you were in that Cadillac group yourself. You could go out there with anybody and have a great wrestling match that the people enjoyed to be able to see.
Well, I thank you, Harley.
Well, I'd like to thank you both for joining us on our anniversary show tonight. Very excited to have JJ, you returning, Harley, to have you on as a guest. But I'm just going to start off right off. You said you guys have worked together, worked the same territories. Harley, 8-time NWA World Heavyweight Champion. For the listeners out there, for those who may not know, what can you tell us more about the territory days? Harley, what can you tell us about, your world title reigns? What was the scene like back in those days?
Well, all during that period of time, I was in every territory that had wrestling throughout the world except Red China or Russia. I was fortunate enough to be able to go to virtually the rest of it. I had a fabulous opportunity to be in that position at that point in time when they had airplanes that would get you that far and move you around throughout the world, and I enjoyed every day of it.
And Harley, one thing that I would like to mention, that I never wrestled against you, but I had the privilege in Japan a number of times of being a tag team partner of yours, and to be in the same ring with you as a tag team partner and to be that close just furthered my respect for you and your ability, and for one of our great champions of all time, and a legitimate tough guy. And I don't know if you remember the story. We were in Florida together, and in Palm Beach, and we would go on a Monday night, and there was a local guy who thought he was tough. I guess he had a few karate lessons back before mixed martial arts, and he would stand up in the bleachers some distance from the ring, and as Harley would go and come, and he was traditionally in the main event every week, of course, and this was between his reigns of a champion, and he was a main eventer in Florida. But this guy would stand up in the middle of the bleachers, and every week he got a little bit braver, and peeling his shirt, and the crowd was getting excited because he was basically challenging you. And then I think one night on the way back from the ring, he just pushed you to the brink where I remember you stopping dead in your tracks halfway back to the dressing room from the ring, and you motioned to the guy, made a U-turn, went back to the ring, and motioned you with your finger, come on down. And now you called this guy's bluff, and he came down the ring, and the people were kind of pushing him, and as he stepped through the rope, a lot of people didn't know that you had that powerful. Most people are right-handed, but you had that powerful left hand, and he was watching the right hand, and he stepped through the rope. You hit him with that left and dropped him, and here came the people, and we had a riot in West Palm Beach, and Larry Henning was there that night, and I mean, I remember that scene like it was yesterday.
Well, I did a lot of goofy things throughout my career.
Well, you called the guy's bluff and shut him up. But again, back in those days, especially in Florida, if you were a professional wrestler and wrestling in Florida, you were somebody that was respected. The people bought a ticket to come see you because they respected you, and it was respect that you earned.
Well, you were right in that category yourself, young man. You had a career that was very, very good, and it lasted a long time. And I was proud to be able to say that I knew you and knew you well.
Well, again, you put Roger Kirby and I together. We were Florida Tag Champions for a while, and it was he was a great tag team partner, and we had a nice run, and I remember the year that I spent in the office, and it was a difficult time, as cable television was changing the landscape of the business, and we really struggled to keep momentum. And one of the things that I remember with you on the road, the few times that you would come back, you were always there to kind of prop me up, give me a pat in the back, and tell me that I was doing a good job and support me, and that meant a lot to me at that particular time too.
Well, JJ, traveling like I did back then with that belt, virtually all over the world, there was a few people that you knew and appreciated and was happy to be there with, and you were one of them as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I greatly appreciate that.
Joe, did you have a question for our guest?
Yes, indeed. JJ Harley, first and foremost, and indeed honor and privilege. I am just with goosebumps. And Harley and JJ, I had the honor to meet you in 2006 at Cauliflower Alley. Such an honor. But here's a question. Now, growing up in the territories, I grew up with the Roy Shire promotion in San Francisco and Don Owen up in Portland, me being 51 years old. Got to see a lot of championship matches, quite a few title defenses of yours, Harley, against Ron Starr, Dean Ho, Dutch Savage, Jimmy Snuka, Lonnie Main up in Portland. Now, I'm going to toss a name to you two that you two have wrestled against. Harley, I know you defended the title against him up in Oregon, and JJ, you managed him in Texas, and you two had a feud. Lonnie Main, what are your opinions on him, and what was it like to work with him in the ring?
Go ahead,
Wow.
JJ.
I was in Texas, and of course I'd heard the reputation and heard the name of Lonnie Main, and circumstances were such that I had managed the Stomper and then managed a couple other people, and they left, and they had a lot invested in me in terms of television time, and so Moondog Main became available, Lonnie Main, and he came in, and he was a great guy in the ring, but he also was a great human being. He was funny to be around, very entertaining, and just had incredible talent. And it was sad news when I heard that he was in California and had a car wreck, was in the hospital and passed away, and there were people that didn't even know that the whole thing had happened. So sadly, Lonnie Main was one of those guys that we lost way too soon. But he was one of the greats of our business.
Well, I have to say, JJ, that you were right in almost every aspect of what you said there. There is very few people that deserve what you just said for that young man, and he was one of them that did deserve it.
Yeah, and the barometer is always the fans are the ultimate barometer. I mean, we have respect, obviously, on one level for each other. We're kind of a fraternity, a brotherhood, and but the ultimate decision maker of your success or failure in the wrestling business are the fans, because they're the ones that buy the ticket, and they're the judge and jury. If you don't have something special that they want to see, then you're not going to buy a ticket and come see you, and that's going to determine, your status in the business or how high your success level goes. And Lonnie Main was one of those guys that just had that thing that we call it. It's charisma. It's very hard to describe, but Lonnie had it, and everywhere that he ever went, he drew money because he had it. He had charisma.
That's right, my friend. And speaking of charisma and people that had it, I'm talking to one right now that falls right in that category.
I appreciate that, Harley. And again, so fortunate to have been in the business in that era when I was around guys that, to me, are the icons of our business, and hopefully our history and the history of that era, when you were a champion, when Dory was a champion, Terry was a champion, Jack Briscoe was a champion, will be preserved for a long, long time, because you set a standard that pretty hard to measure up to. And we look at the current product, and it's different. It's not what it used to be, and change is going to happen. Change is inevitable in everything, not only in wrestling. And change is it's not always for the better, but the one thing that will never change is the memories that we have from those wonderful years when you were a champion. And that's one of the reasons that I look forward to going to Cauliflower Alley, because you've been somewhat of a regular there, Harley, and you never know who you're going to see there. And it's the one time that we all come together where we go our separate ways. We live in different places, and we come to Cauliflower Alley and get a chance to spend some time with each other, and the fans give us our space and respect us, and we give them our attention too. And I think it's a winning formula, and this year is going to be the 50th anniversary, and I'm really looking forward to coming back to Las Vegas. And Terry Funk and I are going to MC the banquet this year, and there's some great people being honored. And the other side of it too is sadly there's a lot of guys in the business who the last time that I saw them, it was at Cauliflower Alley or the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame up in Amsterdam, New York, or one of these major fan festivals like the Fan Fest that Greg Price has and had great success with in Charlotte. And I feel that if I didn't go to some of these things, I would have missed out seeing some of these guys for the last time.
Now, that's absolutely true, my friend, and that's the reason why I sincerely enjoy going is you're going to meet and see people that you haven't seen and seems like forever. And during our era in wrestling, we had the opportunity to travel more than just about any side of wrestling that's ever been. And we traveled on our own and was able to do our thing versus what it is right now. And you just cannot seem to be able, or I can't anyhow, get that across to everybody, that being able to do what you absolutely love to do the majority of your lifetime was absolutely fantastic. And right now, JJ, I'm sitting here in front of about 15, 16 kids in 2 different rings, and I'm still able to be involved and still able to teach younger kids what we did.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much knowledge that you possess with those years of experience, and the fact that even at this stage of your life and with all that you've accomplished, that you're still giving back to the business. And it's like you just said, some of the, road trips were not easy. They were hard, the time on the road. But the plus side of it is that the trips that we made together, we didn't talk about other sports, or we didn't talk about current events. 95% of the conversation was about wrestling, whether it was our match that night or a match that we were looking forward to. And there were more great ideas exchanged in the car, and matches critiqued that helped guys improve because of people like Harley Race, that when they came in as the world champion for the week and you had a chance to make a trip with them, it was like being around somebody that was, you just wanted to be a sponge and soak up whatever knowledge that you could draw from them. And today, I think that's missing from the business. These guys don't make those road trips anymore, and they don't communicate and exchange the knowledge like we did.
Well, and that's entirely correct, JJ. And the other thing is the term of what they've got to do now is slanted in one direction and one direction only. Where when you and I and other people our age was doing it, we were doing it to survive, not to entertain.
Yeah, and that is a very important point, because with all the territories, there were a lot more guys in the profession. And if you were in Kansas City, you were there in Memorial Hall every Thursday night. If you were in Tampa every Tuesday night at the Fort Homer Hesterly Army, if you were in North Carolina with Crockett, every Monday that you were in Charlotte, if you were in Amarillo, every Thursday night you were at that Amarillo Sports Arena. And a lot of the fans were people who had those seats week in and week out. And you may not have known them on a personal level by their name, but you knew those faces because they were there every week. And it was about survival, because a lot of those things weren't huge population centers. So you had to go out there and give 100% every week and do everything to give your best effort, so that hopefully not only would everybody that was in that arena that week be back the following week, but they would tell somebody else, boy, you missed seeing a great match with Harley Race or whoever it happened to be. And that's how we would build the territories and build the houses, by the effort that we put into it. And I think you raised a very valid point. The guys, they don't have that, I wouldn't call it pressure, but I guess it was pressure, because we couldn't afford to do something stupid. We had to go out there and give our best effort every week, because the people can tell. They can tell whether you're out there working hard. And Harley, I can say this in particular about you. Nobody worked any harder in the ring than Harley Race. And now at this stage of your life, your body is reminding you every day of what you did to it. But you also, at the same time, as you said, were doing something that you love doing.
Yes, I was very, very fortunate there, JJ. I started in this business when I was 15 years old, and it has been with me my entire lifetime. I'm right now, JJ, sitting in a building where I have 2 rings set up, and I've got the ones that have never ever done anything in one ring, and as they get a little further up the line, they're in the other ring, and they're holding back a whole lot right now as far as what they're doing in the ring, so I can talk on the telephone without being drowned out with noise that they make when they land on the floor of the ring.
But you know, wrestling, Harley, is no different than anything else. And you know, whether you play baseball or football or basketball or what you do, and especially in Florida, being around Eddie Graham and being around Bob Geigel, a lot of it was learning the right way and learning the fundamentals. And once you master the fundamentals, you know, everybody looks at TV and they think they have to have some character or a gimmick or something. Well, that's all fine and well at the appropriate time down your career, but before you ever get to that level, and that's what you're saying, you have the 2 guys in one ring where somebody's not going to get hurt because they're going to be watched and they're not going to do something silly that where they're going to get hurt. But what they're doing is they're learning the right way. They're learning the fundamentals.
That's right, JJ. That's exactly right. And you had a great run, and the reason you had it is you knew what to do and when to do it, and you were capable of doing it, no matter who you was in the ring with.
Well, like I say, and the other thing too was during that era, there was, you know, great talent across the board in the business. I mean, I'm best remembered of the fabulous run that the 4 Horsemen had, and I was fortunate to be around Flair, to be around Ole, to be around Barry Windham and Tully and Arn Anderson, who were a great team. But across the ring was the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, and the Road Warriors, and Magnum TA, and people that were great talent. And that was the secret of success, because you have to have talent on both sides of the ring, and in order to be successful. And in those days, with the territories, the bigger, more successful territories, and Amarillo was one. I mean, the great talent that went through Amarillo was and Florida. And you would know better than anybody, because as champion, you traveled to all these places and you got to see all the talent and perform with a lot of them, defend your title.
Yes, that was the greatest thing to me, JJ, was to be able to be in the ring with virtually everyone that ever put a pair of tights on. And I sincerely loved what I did, and I was at a great year of being able to be that first person that they would come out with a big aircraft that could take you places and get you there and get you back quick, and being able to do that all over the world was something that very few people on earth can say that they were able to do, and I was one of the fortunate ones that could.
And then again, and not because you're on this line, but it was a pleasure and an honor to be in the business at a time there were people like Harley Race. I really looked up to you, and I still do to this day. You know, whenever I see you, I always like to sit down and take a few minutes of your time. Just I just enjoy being around you.
Well, the same here, JJ. It's always nice to be able to be around and talk to someone that was from your point in time, and you were as good could be in that ring yourself, JJ. You know that, I know that, and the wrestling world knows that.
Well, I greatly appreciate that, and like I say, it's good that we're having this time together and kind of reminisce a little bit, and I understand that I believe it's in March that you're going to be in Wilmington, North Carolina, and I'm 99% sure that I'm going to be there for that expo too, and look forward to seeing you again, spending some time with you, and hopefully health and everything and your commitments with your students will allow you to come to Vegas this year, especially the 50th anniversary of CAC. It's going to be a special year, and you know, it would be great if you could be there and be a part of it. I know I speak not only for myself personally, but fans from all over the world that come. Anytime that you come, it's always great to see you.
Well, likewise, my friend, and I sincerely mean this when I say it. If at all possible, I will be there.
Well, that's good. That's good enough for me. I'm going because I've committed to do the banquet with Terry Funk, and we never know till we get there because that's how life is, and you know, we have the ups and downs, and you've had some serious surgeries that hopefully have made the quality of your life better, and it's traveling is not, you know, on airplanes is not the fun that it used to be. It seems like they figure out some way to make those planes smaller and tighter where you don't have much room, and all that you got to go through with security just to get on the thing to go somewhere. Flying is not all that much fun anymore, but I'm looking forward to Wilmington, North Carolina, and then likewise hoping to also see you in Las Vegas for CAC this year.
Well, again, my friend, no matter where we see one another, it'll be a pleasure. You're a very sincere person in the wrestling business. You always have been, and you'll continue to be, and it takes people like you to make a business like ours that just continues to go, and I'm here right now, JJ, setting. I got about 18, 19 young guys that are backed off and banging around in the ring very much now because they know I'm on the phone with you all, and you're the one there. Just told me to shut up so we can wrestle.
Yeah, they want you there and have your attention so that they can continue to learn. But it's wonderful that, like you say, you love what you were doing all those years, all the success that you had, and at this point, after all that you've been through, the injuries, the surgeries, that you're still giving back to the business and imparting that knowledge to young guys, and then that 18 guys, maybe a future Harley Race of a future generation is there with you tonight.
Well, I've been very, very fortunate with what I've been doing here. One of the top guys in Vince's whole thing right now is CM Punk, and he was with me here for quite some time, and I've been very fortunate to be able to kick out some kids out of here that have went quite a ways.
Well, that's good, and again, they have to have some talent to start with, but then having the raw talent, they need somebody like a Harley Race that then recognizes what they have and teaches them the right way. And I met CM Punk, and the one thing that impressed me the most was the respect that he had for the people who paved the way for him. And that's nice to know that there are young guys that, respect, in spite of what success they may have today, that there were people before them that paved the way.
Well, that's exactly right, my friend. And you and I were quite fortunate to hit an era when television was coming in and being the key thing to putting it all over the world, and I'm glad that you were there, and we were there and had a part of getting it started.
Yeah, well, those are, like I say, positive memories that part will never change.
That's right, my friend.
All right, well, gentlemen, I hate to interrupt this conversation, but we are coming we'll have our next guest coming up soon. Harley, I would like to personally invite you to come back onto our show sometime. We'll do another interview, talk about World League Wrestling and the Wrestling Academy. JJ, thank you once again for joining us. Always a pleasure to have you on our show. Would love to have you on again. But Harley, before we close real fast, anything you'd like to promote in the upcoming events with World League Wrestling or the Wrestling Academy that you'd like to mention to the listeners?
Well, we've got some shows coming up, but I have no idea.
I believe you have a website too, Harley. I think the fans can go on there, and if they check with your website as it gets closer to some of your scheduled events, they can find out that way.
That's right, my friend. I'm glad you thought of that. It's just, to me, an honor to be able to still do what I've loved to do my entire lifetime, and I've got probably 20 young kids out here that are out here now being quiet so I can talk on the phone. But wrestling has been my life.
Well, I think that sums it all up. And Michael, Joe, and Brian, I appreciate that we were invited on your one-year anniversary show, and for me, it was a personal pleasure to be able to share this time with Harley Race. Again, one of the all-time great champions and a great human being, and I've really enjoyed this time together with all you guys.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, JJ. Appreciate it.
Same here, my friend. And JJ, it's always a pleasure to be able to chat with you. So give me a call. You got the numbers, and we'll continue these conversations.
Absolutely.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thanks
guys. Again, and good luck. And I hope you have another great year with your IHWE program too.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well,
all right, Harley Race and JJ Dillon. Guys, that is one way to start off an anniversary show.
You're not kidding. Talk about opening with a bang. Wow, that was fantastic stuff.
All right, now, we're going to continue on this roll here because earlier today, founder of IHWE, David Fuller, had a chance to sit down with Jim Cornette and was able to tape an interview with him from earlier today. So we're going to go to that interview right now, about 20 minutes, and then Joe and Brian and I will be back live right here on the IHWE one-year anniversary show.
Blog Talk Radio.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is David Fuller standing by, a part of the IHWE one-year anniversary podcast for IHWE Radio, and I'm about to be joined by a very special guest. Let's get him on the line here, the legendary Southern Wrestling Hall of Famer, Jim Cornette.
Hello.
Yes, Jim, this is David. We're on IHWE Radio. How's it going?
David, how are you? Are we actually broadcasting or recording or whatever the phrase is at this current point?
Yes. We are on Memorex. We are
well, there
on
you
Memorex.
go. Then I will restrain my comments to things that should go out in the public airways.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. This has been a killer show so far, the IHWE 1-year anniversary podcast. We've had some great guests on. Jim Cornette actually is helping out his old pals at Ohio Valley Wrestling on Wednesday nights. So Jim asked us to give him a call earlier this afternoon and sit down with us for a few minutes because he wanted to be a part of this. He's been a huge help in IHWE over the past 12 months. So Jim's going to give us a few minutes of his time before he heads to the Ruckus OVW Arena to take place in a wonderful TV taping. So anybody in the area, check out Ohio Valley Wrestling. They have a great history in producing fantastic talent. Jim was very instrumental, and he still is there. Jim, I know they're glad to have you. How's it been going at Ohio Valley Wrestling since you've been back?
Well, I'm excited. The reason that I came back was obviously I have partners and friends with Danny Davis. I managed him 30 years ago and have known him for almost 40 years. And Danny decided to come out of retirement to take care of a little business with this loudmouth manager. Boy, I hate those guys. Named Michael Titus, and asked me to become the acting chairman of OVW since obviously it would be a conflict of interest for him to be wrestling and running the company, so I agreed, and now that Michael Titus has been carried out feet first from the Davis Arena at the last OVW Saturday Night Special, Danny has decided to keep his hat in the ring and keep the tights on to enter the Nightmare Cup, which is our annual tag team tournament, with his partner, Trailer Park Trash. So I'm still got the reins, but this is not going to be like one of those Jim Baker, Jimmy Swaggart, Pat Robertson deals where the guy gives the company away and then he doesn't get it back. I won't give it back. No, I'll be glad to give it back anytime Danny asks for it. But we've got some great young talent here. We're doing the weekly television taping and monthly live events in the Davis Arena and live events all around the Louisville area. So ovwrestling.com is the website for those who would like to avail themselves of some information about Ohio Valley Wrestling.
All right, fantastic. It is great to hear that you're back in OVW. That is awesome news. Well, thank you for joining us, number one, today. I know you're a very busy man, and you're going to be heading over there here in a little while to take part in some festivities tonight, television tapings. IHWE is just released Old School Hustle. It's available on Blu-ray, a 2-disc DVD collection, and we're also going to make it available digitally for you computer fans out there that don't feel like putting anything in a DVD player anymore. What a fantastic event. We talked about it, but now it's out there. We put it together real nice. The Blu-ray is 7 hours. You get the Hall of Fame ceremony. You get the uncensored, and let me say that again and underscore it, the uncensored Jim Cornette experience.
We used adult language and told ribald stories all afternoon.
Yes. So, and Black Bart was even involved, so you know that that's the case there. Also, the Southern Wrestling Hall of Fame ceremony, the 3-hour live event that was spectacular, topped off when Jim Cornette led Thomas Shire into the ring and challenged the IHWE champion, Mr. 5.5, Matt Riviere, with Boyd Bradford. But now, wait a minute! Don't give away. Even though the match has already happened for those people who have been living under a rock. Yes.
Don't give the ending away because you got to buy the DVD. But it was a great show. There was a mix of legends like Stan Hansen and Barbara Goodish and the grappler Lynn Denton and my humble self, and then you had ex-national television talent like Charlie Haas, who's a hell of an amateur and professional athlete. You had the stars of the future from Ring of Honor like Kyle O'Reilly, who had a heck of a strong-style wrestling match with Matt Fitchett, and then, of course, the IHWE champion. It was a great night all around, and so I hope that people will enjoy the DVD. It was a great day because we signed autographs and told those burlesque tales and did stuff all afternoon, and so it was a great day for the wrestling fans there. We got to do it again sometime.
Yes, we are going to do it again. We're going to get into that here in a few minutes. Also, somebody who was there, Jim, who was making his debut, but he didn't step inside of a ring to wrestle. He's actually going to do that on February 28th of All Out Insanity. This guy, I think, is going to be, over the next couple of years, this guy is going to really come into his own. The almost 7-foot-tall American Psycho, Lance Hoyt. Lance was really impressive that night, I thought, and of course he's been a world traveler lately, so he's really coming into his own. Yes, and he's actually going to be here right now. He's with Suzuki Gun. They're invading Pro Wrestling Noah right now. It's not so much that they try to take over New Japan. Now they're going to try to conquer Pro Wrestling Noah, and he still lives here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And in between his break, his days off from Japan, he's actually going to step inside the ring on February 28th. It's actually his birthday. And there's an open contract, and what kind of dastardly son of a gun would want to beat the man on his birthday? That's a shame. That's shameful. Lance Hoyt did say nothing would make him happier than throwing a huge Texas-sized choke slam to whoever wants to step inside of the ring with him on February 28th. Now, also on February 28th at All Out Insanity, I gave you the reins, and I said, okay, Jim, you're gonna line up. There's gonna be an IHWE championship match, and we're not gonna go into what happened at Old School Hustle because we want you to buy the Blu-ray. But you named the new number one or the number one contender. Don't you dare now get on the internet and look it up and find out. You've got to be surprised. Yeah, but you, the champion, is going to defend against somebody you have a history with, and Charlie Haas. Now, I gave you the reins, and I said, you need to make the championship match. And you told me, you called me up, and you said, David, I've given it a lot of thought. Charlie Haas is going to get the shot. I think the fans are in for a hell of a treat on February 28th to really see Charlie go for his, Charlie Haas. Tell us about him. Well, everybody knows Charlie was a heck of an amateur wrestler at Seton Hall University in college, and then he turned pro and spent quite a bit of time in the IHWE with Les Thatcher, old Uncle Les, and also here in Ohio Valley Wrestling. He went to the WWE, was part of Team Angle. He's wrestled all over the world. He was a part of Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions with Shelton Benjamin, obviously. And I think Charlie's a heck of an athlete, but I think he's in the best shape that I've ever seen him in when I saw him there in September at Old School Hustle. So basically, I think it's going to be a wonderful test of our champion to see if he can turn back a veteran like Charlie Haas that's in incredible physical shape. Indeed, and we're also going to crown new IHWE Tag Team Champions that night. We're going to have a 4-team tournament. There's a lot going to be going on. Miss Dyslexia, the female beast, as we've been calling her. I suffered from her one time. Yeah. She is going to defend the Queen of the Ring against 5 other female competitors in a 6-pack challenge. There's just a lot going on. That's going to be. Boy, you talk about dyslexia. You get 6 of those women in there, and they won't know whether to wind their ass or scratch their watch. Yes, that is going to be quite the episode. Barbie Hayden's also going to be there, the NWA Women's World Champion. There's going to be a lot of action. Also, you were able to, before they went on sale, you were actually able to get a physical copy of the new IHWE magazine and look it over, your columns in it. What did you think about our first offering from the magazine? Well, it's one of the nicest magazines that I've seen produced from any promotion in quite a long time. I can't remember how many pages it is, but I believe it's around, 1824? But it's actually 38. 38, my God. It fooled me because the paper is so thick. You've got glossy color paper on every page. It's one of the best printing jobs that I've ever seen, and I commend your fine printers. But the color reproduction, the pictures are insane. The action from Old School Hustle. I haven't seen a print job of this quality from any promotion in quite a long time, including the WWE. To just go ahead and say it there, because this is a mean motor scooter and a bad go-getter of a magazine right here. You went to some time and trouble on this. Yes, 14-page spread on Old School Hustle. Jim actually took some time out. He's actually going to be delivering. Every time we print one of these magazines, he's going to deliver us a column. There's an interview with Barbara.
I thought you meant I had to deliver the magazines. I'm a newspaper boy. I'm going to be riding a bicycle down the sidewalk in neighborhoods around DFW, throwing the magazine onto the front porch.
I think you would channel the old video game Paperboy at that point, Jim. So there you go. Let's get that trending on Twitter. # Jim Cornette Paperboy. So hopefully wake up tomorrow and that'll be one of the top trends.
I'm humble and lovable. Thank you very much.
But anyway, so overall, how was you've been working with IHWE since the summer? You started just coming on the radio show a handful of times. We did the Terry Gordy tribute show. You've been on a handful of times with some different individuals, and then you did some promos for us, and you came down for Old School Hustle. You've done some stuff with the magazine. You're continuing to do stuff for us. How's the overall experience been for you? Because I mean, you've said
now don't forget. I also popped some of the popcorn at Old School Hustle.
Yes.
Also,
yeah,
remember that?
Was not we're gonna.
I oversalted it, as a matter of fact, so people would. Well, I oversalted it so people would buy more drinks, you see.
Exactly.
Because I was looking out for your bottom line. But no, I've really enjoyed working with you and the whole staff, especially at the live event. I was telling somebody this the other day, is for independent wrestling, this was one of the most professional, one of the cleanest, and I don't say that like a G-rated or Disney-ish, but one of the cleanest shows in a nice building instead of sometimes the independent wrestling shows can take place in some dodgy buildings, but it's a beautiful facility down there, the Sendera Center that we had it at. It came off without a hitch in terms of the meet and greet started and ended on time. Everybody got to meet their favorite wrestler. The matches kept flowing. There weren't any delays. The building, the screens you had set up, and the staging area, the sound. I did some commentary with Rob Moore, Texas's great wrestling announcer. He's replaced Boyd Pierce, folks, as a Texas icon. Just every aspect of the show, the respect that the legends got treated with, and the effort that everybody put out. I really enjoyed it. And you have a great backstage crew, too, because it didn't seem like 10 minutes went by without somebody sticking a camera or a microphone in my face. You were covered more than the Kennedy assassination.
All that was missing was Bill Mercer. All that was missing was Bill Mercer there.
And we tried to get him, didn't we?
Yes, we did. Actually, it's really cool because we have Doyle King. Craig Johnson is working with us. He moved up to Cincinnati to take the job. We wish Craig well. Bill Mercer's in North Carolina now.
Somebody finally agreed to give Craig Johnson a job?
Yes.
That's
Other than
amazing.
Greg Pearson or Joe Pedicino. So.
I know. I love him. He's the biggest Johnson I've ever seen. I love him.
Yeah. Actually, Bill Mercer's going to be shooting some video for us, and Mark Lawrence. We're hoping to get Mark Lawrence at the next Old School Hustle event. So that should be a lot of fun. So
Mark Lawrence. What a low key announcing style he had. As a matter of fact, he was announcing the main event one night from the Will Rogers Coliseum in Fort Worth, and I ran out to ringside and put a mirror up in front of his mouth to see if he was still breathing. He just had that low key style. It was amazing.
That was amazing. One of the things I wanted to ask you about, I don't think we've covered this. Watching the Hall of Fame ceremony, of course, I had a plan going in. I was gonna get one over on the legendary Jim Cornette, and James Beard was my partner in crime. Like, we got to do this. So anyway, Jim gets surprised, and for a split second, folks, and it's on video, and you have to buy this to see it. Jim Cornette is speechless for about half a second. It
was a long heartbeat.
Yeah.
A very long heartbeat.
Yes. Jim Cornette was actually speechless, but of course he got himself together and he accepted the Hall of Fame induction, and everyone was happy. And then right after that, Morgan Dollar came on, and he talked about the 50th Cauliflower Alley Club coming up in, I believe it's April, and he he announced that Bruiser Brody was going to get honored, and he brought in Barber, who was already in the ring, and the fans started one of the loudest chants I've ever seen in a live show, Bruiser Brody, which I thought was absolutely amazing.
It was great. You could tell she was genuinely touched, and especially when, as Pat Patterson would say, the announcement was made and the people went banana. She was genuinely touched and kind of flustered and didn't really know what to say at first, but it was a nice moment, and I think it's great when not only any member of someone's family can see the affection that the fans still have for him after 20 or 30 years is what I'm trying to get across. And it was a great moment for Barbara, I thought.
Oh yeah,
you just need to build that stage out about a foot and a half farther, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, she made a joke. Thankfully, she's recovered well, and she's doing fantastic. She's going to be. I think she's doing a show for Herb Simmons here in a few months in St. Louis, and also she's going to be at the Cauliflower Alley Club, of course, in April. But she made a joke. She said, Frank would have wanted her to take the bump and sell it. So that's exactly what she did.
Actually, I don't know if Brody would have wanted her to sell it.
No. I don't think she had a choice in that matter. And luckily we had a couple of nurses on staff. We had Fort Worth Police Department on staff, and the only delay that night was we had to take care of Barbara, and we did, and we got her to the hospital, and the show went on.
Hey, and that's another thing. You did have the police there, which I thought was a nice touch, just in case that I started a riot with all of the fans clamoring to get to my Cornette's Collectibles booth. So I appreciate you doing that for me. It was literally Elvis-like. I had people coming up and just offering me, here, would you like a Coke? Would you, here, I brought you some candy. Here's a present. Here's a DVD. Would you like my firstborn child? They were just so nice. It was amazing.
Well, I sometimes I try not to do this. I try not to engage with people about this because it's a waste of time. But anytime somebody wants to say anything derogatory about you because of you voicing your opinion, which you're allowed to do like any other red-blooded American, I tell people, I said, listen, I'm gonna tell you this. This is coming from when I worked with Jim, and I was around Jim. Jim Cornette got to the building around noon. And that day, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time, he did not leave the building until about 10 p.m. Central Standard Time.
And it was a 5 o'clock bell also. Remember, it was a 5 o'clock bell. So.
Yeah, he was a 5 o'clock bell. He was there. He never once kept himself away. The only time he was backstage was when he was needed to be backstage. He was there. He met everybody. He shook everybody's hand. He hugged everybody. He kissed every baby. He made phone calls to the people that couldn't be there. They gave him a phone call. So
I did about 3 of those, I think. It was about 3 or 4.
Yeah, so he did, and he was nice to every single solitary person there. So, Jim is allowed to voice his opinion like anybody else in the world, but I'm telling you, you get a chance to work with Jim Cornette.
Brett these people that criticize me. And I also contribute to animal charities.
Yes.
And actually I'm volunteering some of my time for charity next week. I heard here in Louisville they have a home for unwed mothers that's going out of business. So I've agreed to next week go and supply them with some more unwed mothers. It's the least I can do.
But Jim, when you get a chance, as long as Jim has earned his respect. But like I said, I tell people all the time, I got to work with this guy back in September. I was around him pretty much all day, and you were great to everybody. So
I took my pants off in your office.
Yes, you did.
As you'll recall,
you did. Yes,
but in a strictly platonic way. It was a platonic thing because your office had the only bathroom that I could actually get into, and I was changing and rearranging.
I had the TV office, so
that's always good. I find the promoter's office always has the cleanest bathroom,
and the shower. So, but anyway.
I tell you what, you went above and beyond the Call of Duty when you soaked my back up, David. Though, really, you didn't have to do that.
That might be on the DVD. I'll have to go.
Was there a camera in there? I didn't realize we were on video.
Well, you know what? You were trying to help my bottom dollar, Jim, and we're still trying to recover.
Your bottom dollar? Wait a minute. Now, people are going to get the wrong idea.
Bottom dollar. Morgan Dollar is on my mind. Taxidermy.
Morgan. Well, there you go.
Yeah,
and you know, and actually, when Morgan came in, I really thought that it was going to turn out a little strange, but it just seemed so right.
Oh man! But anyway, and Morgan has stalked you, I believe, to a couple other events in the Carolinas since Old School Hustle.
Yes, as a matter of fact, he is somewhat like a stalker in that I hadn't seen him in 15 years, and then suddenly, everywhere I turn around, I'm checking my closet at night because Morgan might be there. He interviewed me on the Cauliflower Alley Club radio program, and he was at the big event down in the Carolinas, the big fan fest down there. So, you know, Morgan is, I mean, I know I can sometimes have this effect on people, but he's infatuated.
Yeah. Yes. Also, IHWE is a proud sponsor of the big Wilmington event. I believe it's on March 7th. Masters of the Ring Entertainment. Jim, you're going to be a part of that. We're a proud sponsor of that, so that should be a lot of fun for you.
Well, actually, that's going to be another great fan fest, and over the big Charlotte Legends reunion every year in August is my favorite weekend of the year, but I haven't been out to the coast of the Carolinas, out in eastern North Carolina, in, my God, it'll probably 10 years easily, and maybe longer than that. And so on, it's mastersofringentertainment.com. On March 7th, they're going to have a fan fest all day at the Coastline Convention Center in Wilmington with Harley Race and Ted DiBiase, the Rock and Roll Express, the Midnight Express. We're getting Stan Lane out of the house again, folks, for this one. And then they're going to have a tribute event that night from 8 to 10 honoring my career. Imagine that. Someone's trying to be nice to me. I encourage everybody to, but you can go to JimCornette.com, by the way, remember, and get, just click on events and you get my whole live schedule, because I'm a social butterfly these days. But I'm staying in for the winter. Really, March 7th is my coming out party.
All right, and I believe starting on March 7th, I do believe so, Jim, we're going to get these out to you. Every time Jim Cornette is live somewhere, you will have an opportunity to purchase a DVD copy of Old School Hustle, as Jim will have some of his own. You can get the show, the Jim Cornette Experience, the Southern Wrestling Hall of Fame ceremony. Also, a DVD extra is going to be the Hall of Fame induction of Johnny Valentine, the man who broke me into the professional wrestling business. That was done in 2010. His widow, Sharon, accepted on his behalf. She's passed on since then. So there was a wonderful night in Fort Worth honoring just an icon, Johnny Valentine. The word gets thrown around a lot in this business, but Johnny Valentine, I'm a little biased, but there was no tougher than Johnny, in my opinion.
Well, I think a lot of people would agree with you. Anybody that can stand toe-to-toe with Wahoo McDaniel and be smiling while he's asking him to hit him harder is... actually, I think Johnny Valentine was probably one of the pod people in Invasion from the Body Snatchers. He was not a human being when it came to terms of punishment he could either take or dish out. It was not a walk in the park to work a main event program with Johnny Valentine.
No, it was not. I had the the dubious achievement, I should say, in training. He was on crutches from the 1975 plane crash with Ric Flair and Dave Crockett, but he was still strong as an ox. He still had huge arms, and I was there the day he gave forearms to the back. And I took it. Oh, yeah, I took it. And, I mean, Jim, you've seen me. I'm pretty much the same size as I was then. So I went face first into the floor. And, luckily, that was the only time Johnny inflicted that kind of punishment on me. And I think he was in my good graces after that. So, yeah.
But actually, that was the first and only recorded instance when he gave you that forearm of someone causing a brain concussion and severe brain trauma with a forearm to the back, as, of course, evidenced by your behavior since then. But you've been able to go through the therapy and lead somewhat of a normal life.
Yes. And thankfully, my wife is here every day to help me read, and I get better every day. So, anyway,
pretty soon you'll be dressing yourself before you know it, David. I just want you to keep thinking those good thoughts.
Cannot wait. I'm marking down, circling the days on my calendar like it's Christmas. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to let Jim hit the road. He's going to get ready for Ohio Valley Wrestling. Jim, you got the weekly Jim Cornette Experience as a part of MLW.com, JimCornette.com. You just released a wonderful DVD set of the Lost Carolina footage that you obtained a few years ago. Go ahead, the floor is yours. Plug anything you like, sir.
Well, I think you've pretty much done it. Tip the waitress and try the veal. I just want to say thank you for having me a part of IHWE, not only the promotion, Old School Hustle, and an ongoing presence in the magazines and future live events, but just congratulations on this milestone on your podcast, all the great guests you've got tonight, and I appreciate you accommodating my timeline so that I could be on the program because I didn't want to miss it.
Oh, no, thank you, Jim, for taking the time out before you head to Ohio Valley Wrestling and do what you do best in the professional wrestling business. Thank you so much.
What you mean I'm going to eat a bucket of fried chicken over at OVW?
Well, you kind of fill that blank in, with whatever you want. I started to finish, you fill in the blank. So yes,
you said what I was
eating a bucket of fried chicken.
Yeah, well, you said what I was going to do best, and that's pretty much, I think I could excel at that. But we'll talk about it. But thank you, David, very much. I appreciate it.
Jim, have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful night. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, Joe, Brian, you still there with us?
Yes, sir. Listen to every second. Fantastic conversation. Jim Cornette and David Fuller. Great stuff, as usual.
Yes, I'm here as well. It was very interesting. Always great to hear words from the honorable and infamous James E. Cornette. Fans are looking forward to that in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Yeah, interesting is the best way to put it when you have an interview with Jim Cornette. I'm a little concerned, though. David's going to be joining us here pretty soon. I'm kind of wanting to know a little bit more about what was going on behind that closed door. I mean, Cornette's got no pants on, bottom dollar, and soaping somebody's back. I'm a little concerned. I think David has some splaining to do.
Splaining to do, huh?
Anyways, folks, thank you for joining us once again. IHWE Radio 1 year anniversary. If you missed our first hour, you need to go back, go to the archives, download the show. Amazing conversation between James J. Dillon and Harley Race. You could not have put together two better people to open up an anniversary show. I mean, we got in two questions. The rest of it was them. And, in fact, I think JJ's trying to take over my job because he did a better intro Harley than I did.
Mike, you were just starstruck. That was all. You were starstruck.
Like I told you earlier, Joe, no more written intros. No more. Off the cuff from now on, son. Off the cuff. Anyways, we are waiting for our next guest to come on board. According to the schedule, we will be being joined by none other than Global Force Wrestling's own Jeff Jarrett. Will hopefully, live radio, ladies and gentlemen, be joining us here in the next few moments. Also joining us tonight, Mike McGuirk, the daughter of famed promoter Leroy McGuirk, wrestling ring announcer for, was it WWF, Joe? Was she there at that time, or were they still WWW? I'm not too
No, she was there. She was there for the World Wrestling Federation. It was, I believe, mid to towards late 80s.
Well, there you go. We're also going to be joined by the Offshoots Trey McLean. Joe and David and Brian and I, we will be part of a Best of IHWE radio show that will be starting on the Offshoots Radio Network in the very near future. We'll be recording up-to-date live intros for classic interviews from Mick Foley, Gary Young, Ted DiBiase, Stan Hansen, Barbara Goodish, the Grappler. You know, looking forward to that. Just something new coming up in the second year of IHWE Radio. And at the top of the third hour, we are going to be joined by UFC stars, Hall of Famers, Dan Severn and Ken Shamrock. They will be joining us. First time, I think, on any podcast that those two have ever been on. They've been on different interview shows, but I think this is the first time they've ever been on together at the same time. I think that's right.
That's right. They've been on separately, and this is history in the making. 1 year anniversary, IHWE Radio, just big stuff there. Major congrats to David Fuller for, getting it going, and then, having you come on board, and then a few months later, little old me and Brian. I mean, it's just, it's been one fantastic year. All the guests we've had, the conversations, the camaraderie, just great stuff. And speaking of which, before Mr. Jarrett, joins us, real quick plug, February the 7th, we are under 3 weeks away, ladies and gentlemen. IHWE California, that's our promotion, Redwood Acres in Eureka, California, at the Redwood Acres Fairgrounds, 3 championship matches. Thomas Shire will defend against Dr. Cleaver. The Gold Rush champion, Rick Luxury, he will be on the card, as well as our inaugural IHWE California Championship belt will be on the line. HBQ Quiz will take on Nate Andrews. All-star card, just go to the site, go to Facebook, more information. We will have an IHWE California kickoff show in a couple of weeks.
Yes, February 4th. Had to think about that a second. February 4th is going to be the IHWE California Rumble, the Redwoods 2 special on the IHWE Radio podcast. We're going to be joined by many of the competitors that will be here on February 7th at the Redwood Acres Fairgrounds. Still in the works. We're still trying to confirm everybody. I do know, talked to her earlier, Andrea the Giant will be joining us that night. Levi Shapiro has also said that he will be here, and we're hoping to get at least a recorded interview with the champion, Thomas Shire, and his challenger, Dr. Cleaver. I want to hear what those two have to say. That's definitely going to be a hot match. That's going to be something I'm looking forward to seeing. I'm looking forward to the whole show, but that main event, if Thomas Shire could get out of Humboldt County with that belt around his waist, he put up a hell of a fight. Because Dr. Cleaver wants the gold. He's had gold before, and he wants it again.
Oh, of course. And keep in mind, after Eureka, Thomas Shire will be in action back in Texas towards the end of the month. And that's, correct me if I'm wrong, that's a possible title versus title match. So there's a lot riding on this. If Shire leaves as the ex-champion, he'll be challenging for Charlie Haas's title. But let's just see what happens. I mean, you've got to be there. Tremendous all-star card. We have a Hall of Fame ceremony. The late, great Moondog Lonnie Main, Harley Race, and J.J. Dillon, they spoke highly of him, and we're inducting him into our Hall of Fame. His brother, Sean Main, great professional wrestler in his own right, he'll be flying in from Salt Lake City to accept the award on Lonnie's behalf. We can just go on, just great stuff. But this whole year, Mike, I mean, we've had the podcast, Old School Hustle, the magazine just came out. I mean, just lots of great stuff going on, and there's more great stuff in the following weeks and months to come.
Oh, definitely. In fact, I got a big announcement. I've been kind of looking forward to making this announcement. In the second year of IHWE Radio, we're going to change things up a little bit. One, if you follow us on Twitter, at IHWE Radio, live tweet during the show. So if you're unable to listen to us on the show, but you happen to have your cell phone available, you happen to be on your computer, anywhere you can get Twitter, we will have a live Twitter feed during every episode of IHWE Radio. Yes, it's going to be me. But if you have a question for our guest, if you have a question for one of us, just send that message right there, live via Twitter. We'll answer it right there on the air. That's something definitely looking forward to, a way to expand out and use the social media platforms available to us. Also, and this has just been confirmed, we will be joined by a special correspondent. He is going to be joining our show on a monthly basis. He'll be participating in roundtable discussions. He will also be conducting interviews with past legends, superstars on it. We are going to be joined on IHWE Radio by none other than world-renowned wrestling photographer Mike Leno. He is going to be joining us not every Wednesday night, but many Wednesday nights. He's going to be a guest correspondent. Next week, we're still waiting for 100% confirmation, but it is looking like his first guest on our show is going to be none other than the Hustler, Rip Rogers.
Very nice. The Hustler, Rip Rogers.
So, yes, IHWE Radio, bigger and better. You thought the first year was great. The second year is going to be even better. big ideas, big plans. February 28th, Joe and I are going to be hosting a live pre-show podcast from All Out Insanity. Our correspondent there that night will be none other than the Offshoots' Trey McLean. He's going to be there getting us the interviews, and we're going to do a special pre-show podcast for All Out Insanity. I'm hoping we'll be talking to Thomas Shire, Charlie Haas. We'll talk to some of the teams that are in that 4-team tag tournament that David mentioned in the earlier interview. But, yeah, looking forward to that. Lots of great things happening with IHWE Radio in our second year.
Brian, do you have any history for us?
There we go.
Well, let's see. Believe recently, I think was the anniversary, I think yesterday was the anniversary of the death of Bobo Brazil, one of the biggest names, big box office draws out of Michigan, faced the Sheik in the Detroit territory. January 19th, and I did watch the Royal Rumble 1992, seeing Ric Flair give a great performance, winning the World Wrestling Federation World Heavyweight Championship, just meeting all contenders in that time, and Bobby the Brain Heenan giving one hell of a commentary. Just great performances by both men. Also, this past, the 17th, we have a new National Wrestling Alliance Western States Heavyweight Champion. He is Loverboy Matt Riviera, upset Brian Kendrick in the tournament final in Santa Maria, California. Congratulations to Matt Riviera. Of course, J.J. Dillon was there managing him. So big congratulations to Matt for that big title win. And kudos to Vedetta Pro Wrestling for a good show on the 17th. So, yeah, lots of stuff going on.
Yeah, the Royal Rumble, the basically it was called the Ric Flair Show. That was just an awesome Royal Rumble. Flair coming in number 3, and Bobby Heenan, it was just whip topping on the pumpkin pie. I mean, the commentating, the play-by-play, and especially the post match press conference. Hearing, Nate say, with a tear in my eye, and he just goes off as only the Nature Boy can do. And, Bobo Brazil, he wrestled here on the West Coast. He wrestled for Roy Shires in San Francisco, wrestled up here in Eureka, challenged Pat Patterson for the U.S. title on many an occasion. World traveler, Bobo Brazil was, but to the average fan, nationally, they'll remember him for his brutal, and I use that term loosely, brutal battles with the Sheik, especially at Cobo Arena in Detroit. My goodness, just total carnage.
Without a doubt, a big box office draw. And, of course, Michihiro Misawa defeating Kenta Kobashi for the Triple Crown Championship of All Japan Pro Wrestling back on January the 20th, back in 1997. And, of course, we got some Royal Rumble victories that happened today and some other things that went on. So, yeah, a lot went on for this week. And in January, pretty off-topic, pretty interesting day for me. My father ended up in going to urgent care dealing with vertigo. So he's feeling a little bit better.
Well,
so,
good.
yeah, it was
Thank
a little
goodness.
crazy day at work. So some other things going on. But anyway, yeah, so at least he's off to bed now. Hopefully get some rest.
Well, tell him we wish him well. Tell him when we're done with
definitely.
this, tell him we wish him well and send him our love.
Yeah,
All right, guys. Oh, sorry to interrupt, but we are heading on to our next guest. Unfortunately, it looks like Jeff Jarrett is not able to join us at this time, but we are being joined by the next guest on our list, who is, in his own right, just as important. He is the Cauliflower Alley Club Vice President-elect. He will be taking over the reins from Carl Lauer after this year's reunion, and he was the first guest on IHWE Radio 1 year ago. Please welcome Morgan Dollar. Morgan, how you doing tonight?
Doing great. How you guys doing?
Doing well, sir.
Doing
good
good,
to hear
doing
from
good.
you. Doing well.
Good to hear from you, Morgan.
Well, good to hear your voice too, Brian. I just want to verify one thing. I need to get this Blu-ray or DVD from Old School Hustle before March the 7th, so when they do this tribute to Jim Cornette, I can show this part of Jim Cornette and Mr. Fuller being in the closet, the office, or wherever they are, whatever's going on. I know nothing about it. The dollar name was mentioned. I know absolutely nothing about it, and I will put a stop to that DVD if I'm involved with that.
I think it's coming out this week.
The DVD and Blu-ray are available. I have not seen any special footage regarding Jim Cornette and David Fuller in the office there, Morgan. So I think you're okay. I think David got a little flustered, and he meant bottom dollar, and so we'll see. He'll be on here soon. You can ask him.
That was a great interview, and Jim says I'm stalking him. I have proof that he's stalking me because I signed up to be March the 7th for Masters of Ring Entertainment in Wilmington, North Carolina. I actually signed up before technically he did, so I think he might be stalking me.
He's trying to ride the coattails, is what it is.
That's exactly what it is. So, but we had a great
like David said.
We had a great time at Old School Hustle, and everything Cornette said about Old School Hustle was really true. A lot of these independent promotions, and I'm not knocking any promotion by any means, but a lot of these promotions just throw something together more or less overnight, put a sign up in front of a building, wrestling tonight, and they draw 25 people. And David and you guys put your heart and soul into this event, and it was a sellout. Like Cornette said, everything in the back was running smooth. It was just, except for David, and his 105-pound body was running around like a chicken with his head cut off. But other than that, everything was good. It was a great show, and we really had a good time.
One thing you're going to find out about David Morgan, and you might know a little bit about this, I don't think the man can slow down. I think he only knows one speed, and that's really fast. So his wife refers to him as being 100 steps ahead of everybody else, which means we're all way behind.
He needs to lay off the coffee or the Mountain Dews or the caffeine or whatever he's ingesting. It's just, he's nonstop, 24/7.
All I know is at least several times, Mike can attest to this, I actually had to get in David's ear and say, breathe, oxygen's free.
That's exactly right. But we had a real good time. And, podcasts, they come and go, too. People think they want to do a podcast, and it'll last a month or two, and then it'll kind of fade out. And maybe once every 6 months, all of a sudden they'll up and have a podcast. But you guys, a 1-year anniversary in this business, this day and time, in the internet world, that's really a major accomplishment. And it's been just about every week y'all have had a podcast, and you've had great people on it. You've always had a great show. You carry yourself real professional. And I think it's a big accomplishment. You guys need to be patted on the back for it.
Well, thank you, sir. We really appreciate the compliment. Thank you.
Now, Morgan, yesterday, big announcement coming out from Call for Harley Club about the 50th anniversary reunion. The Mazurki Award the winner was announced. Do you care to make that announcement on here, and we'll discuss that a little bit?
Oh, sure. The Internet's gone crazy. I've got phone calls about it. Everybody's excited that Larry the Axe Heenan will be the 2015 Iron Mike Mazurki Award winner this coming April at the Cauliflower Alley Club reunion in Las Vegas. So between that and the Jerry Briscoe getting the Lou Thez Award, people's really going crazy now, buying banquet tickets and making their motel reservations. I'm sure this will max out at the 700 mark this year.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah, it is. My goodness. Larry Henning, our first year of 2006, I had the pleasure to meet, Larry Henning and Harley Race. That was when Harley got the Mazurki Award. And, posing for a picture between those two legends, I mean, that was just money. That was just, fantastic stuff. And, a couple of just darn great gentlemen. I mean, say what you will in the ring, when they were a tag team back in the day, as brutal and rough and tumble as they were or can be, outside the ring, class acts, true gentlemen.
No doubt, both of them are. I'm more friends with Harley Race than I am Larry, but me and Larry, we've had conversations in the past and discussions and such, but Larry, the whole Henning family, look at the dynasty that they're creating. Of course, Kurt and now Curtis Axel with WWE. So the family tradition of professional wrestling in that family is unreal. And, it all started with Larry, and he done so much from the AWA to the NWA. Like Larry said in an interview one time, if you seen a Henning wrestle, you would never forget it. And that still holds true today. I'm a firm believer in that.
Oh, yes, indeed.
Yeah, I remember meeting Larry Hennig the first time, the 2005 reunion, along with Harley. And, yeah, Larry's a very accomplished amateur wrestler, big box office draw himself in the AWA and in many different territories, and unfortunately had to retire in the mid-'80s, but he also still runs a very successful real estate business. And, of course, with his legacy being both grandson Curtis and, of course, son Kurt Hennig, Mr. Perfect, and definitely surpassed Larry, in some respects, of course, going on to the World Heavyweight Championship and the Intercontinental Championship at WWE. And, definitely well-deserved. A huge honor for Larry Hennig. Looking forward to being there in April.
And he's also a real successful auctioneer. Now, can you imagine standing in the crowd and Larry Hennig being an auctioneer and pretty much shooting on you, telling you you're going to buy this bid?
I did not know he was an auctioneer. My goodness, that's great.
That's my stuff I didn't need.
He is
exactly.
He's a real real successful. Just recently, Carl Lauer was telling me that he had an auction, and it was a big, real wealthy estate that had to be settled, and it was a couple $1 million auction that he handled. So he's been real successful in that, and he's like, I'm guessing, I think he's like 78 now, and to be able to still be active like he is in the real estate company and auctioneering, and it's going to be a real good time in Vegas with Larry there.
I'm looking forward to wishing him well and having a moment or two with him, because I remember the last time we talked, it was very, very briefly, because, it was a jam-packed crowd, everybody wanting to, go up, talk to him, and, rightfully so. We talked a little bit about Portland, because, Kurt pretty much, got his break up in Portland for Don Owen, and Larry Hennig, wrestled up there as well. They were actually a tag team. They held the Pacific Northwest Tag Team Championship. And several years ago at a WCW house show at the Cow Palace, my family and myself, we were able to get backstage, and we talked to, Paul White, Big Show, Mysterio, and Hennig walked by, and, kind of, kayfabe-ish, standoffish a little bit, but I mentioned Don Owen. We talked for a couple of moments, and he was very pleased about that. Just, memories, his Titanic bouts with the Dynamite Kid. Oh, my God, look on YouTube, Dynamite Kid versus Kurt Hennig. Whew! Talk about stiff.
No doubt. And, Kurt took his father's wrestling ability or whatever, and he put it into his, and Kurt was just he portrayed just a cocky, arrogant, wrestler, and the fans ate it up. And Kurt was one of in his era, Kurt was one of the best wrestlers of his time.
I'd have to agree with that.
Definitely.
Now, Morgan, are there any other awards to be announced yet, or have we finally hit all the honorees for this year?
We're working on, believe it or not, we're working on a few more. We'll be releasing the names of a couple more awards, and of course we have the Future Legend Award that the Future Legend Committee got in touch with me. They're in discussion now of who will be receiving the Future Legend Award, and so the nominations for that is closed. They're working on that. The Golden Ear Award, this will be the last year of the Golden Ear Award. And then we've got a couple that we will be able to announce, but the Golden Ear Award and the Future Legend Award will not be announced. That'll be surprise awards. And, you know, every year we always throw in something to surprise the crowd, so we'll see what comes up between now and April the 13th.
Yeah, I have to say I will vouch for it. Morgan is the king of kayfabe, but still alive there in North Kakalaki in his hometown there, because this man won't tell you nothing. I've tried.
Well, you know, I feel like there always needs to be some kind of surprise at the reunion. We try to, once we get confirmation of a well-known legend that's going to be in attendance, sometimes we let the cat out of the bag and announce that. And then sometimes we'll have some names that we want to keep quiet, so everybody will be surprised. If whoever comes walking in the nostalgia room and Michael or Joe or Brian or somebody, I didn't know they was going to be here. I didn't know they was going to be here. So we kind of like that surprise effect, and it's fun, us knowing and everybody else not knowing, so we like doing that.
Oh, case in point, Old School Hustle, when you announced, the posthumous award to Bruiser Brody. I mean, the only other person that knew besides you was David. And, the look on Michael's face when, that image on the wall there. Wow, I mean, you talk about, stunned, shock. I mean, it was just, it was all emotion rolled up into one. It was just awesome. And then when you have, that capacity crowd in Fort Worth, Texas, chanting Brody's name and then Barbara's name, how doesn't get any better. Does not get any better.
Well, Joe, I'm not the type. It's not about me. I'm not the type that tries to put myself over. But I could talk about that situation forever. That was one of the biggest highlights in my career, and it wasn't me doing it. It was me knowing that the fact that Bruiser Brody deserved this from years ago, and to be doing it in Texas with Barbara there, it had to happen the way it happened, and I think it was great. I really do.
Oh, me too. It was one. I mean, I'm pretty sure Mike and Brown agree. I mean, it was it hit the highlight reel. I mean, it was just simply fantastic.
And to keep it from Michael that was the main. That's really what I wanted to do, and I threatened Buller with bodily harm if he said anything to anybody. And he said, I will only say something to my graphic guy so I can get the photo made. And so he kayfabed it. We all kayfabed it. And Barbara, I've talked to her several times since then, and she is so excited to be coming to Vegas and seeing everybody. And she told me on the phone that I didn't know this. I mean, it's her personal life, her and Brody's, but they actually got married in Las Vegas. So they did. They actually got married in Las Vegas. So that's another highlight of this whole Brody Award deal.
All right, now, Morgan.
Wow, my goodness.
Morgan, if you're interested in finding out about that DVD extra about David possibly soaping Jim Cornette's back in the locker room, David has just joined us in the studio if you'd like to inquire about that.
David, what in the world? You even got me involved in it, and I did not drink nothing at that wrestling show. I don't know what.
Hey, you know what? Jim Cornette has an imagination that just boggles the mind. So I got nothing to say about that. If you want to see what happened between me and Jim Cornette, you got to buy the Blu-ray and you got to buy the DVD, folks. That's all I'm going to say.
I thought it was family friendly. I didn't realize it was adult. Wow.
You was talking about Cornette's mind that he has. That's what's missing in professional wrestling today, is the knowledge that he has versus today's product. If Jim Cornette was over creative, I think professional wrestling might even be a better scenario than it is.
I agree 100%. Let me see here. Michael, I believe our next guest is standing by. I'm gonna jump in here real quick and find out here. I'm gonna. Mike, are you standing by? Mike, are you there? Mike, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to IHWE Radio, a pioneer and professional wrestling. As far as my knowledge, and anybody correct me if I'm wrong, she was the first ring announcer on a global level and a color commentator. Please welcome to the show the daughter of legendary upcoming Southern Wrestling Hall of Famer Leroy McGuirk, the mother of Max McGuirk, Mike McGuirk. Welcome to the show, Mike.
How in the world do I come in after that? I mean, I go from a pioneer to a mother to gosh, I've been listening in, and I feel bad about cutting in on such a, I heard the word kayfabe, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, that's still, it's like, who's saying that? I guess I've been around pioneer days. I mean, how are you all doing? I'm glad that you asked me to be a part of this, and I'm just as excited. I've never met Barbara Goodish. I sure knew Bruiser Brody as not too much of a youngster, but as a teenager growing up and watching him and Stan the Lariat. So it's really neat. You bet. I can't wait to go. I've got new friends that I didn't even know that knew me, so that's kind of cool. And you, how are you all doing out there? I mean, gosh, help me out here.
Well, we've got I just joined in. I just joined in on the show, so I've missed a little bit, and I apologize, folks. I'm gonna get into that here in a little bit. I'm doing all right. Thank you for asking. We've got Michael McCurdy and Joe Seuss out in sunny California. They kind of stepped in tonight and took care of things while I was gone. We got Morgan Dollar out in North Kakalaki.
See, all these names. I'll get to have the faces and meet them. And how much fun is that going to be? I can't wait. If anybody, I don't want to give it away, that's why I don't want to talk too much, but anybody that knows me, I have, or doesn't, I still have a lot to say, and sometimes too much. But, I guess I'm a wealth of something, of knowledge. That's saying something. I still have my mind intact of many stories, and as I said, when I hear kayfabe, it's just, I grew up in where it was not used loosely. So, and the truth of it is, we're all part of family and how it's evolved, and I think a lot of it is, can you grow with it? And whether I'm involved in the business, I still am with the way that you have it. It's a part of, people will say that I can talk about a lot of things, but if wrestling is on there and then it all comes to me, I have plenty to say.
I love it. Well, we've got you on the right show. We've got you on the right show. I'm curious. Of course, I was watching the World Wrestling Federation in the 80s because I was infatuated with Andre the Giant. No. When I started watching wrestling, I believe I was 5 or 6. So, I'm not going to make you feel any better by saying I was 5 or 6 other than I was 2. I think you're going to feel the same way.
Hey, I'll take what I can get.
But I remember watching the World Wrestling Federation because that's where Andre was, that's where Hulk was, that's where Randy Savage was. Sure. And as a kid, you were enthralled by characters, and Vince had a cast of them, let me tell you. Yes, he did.
We had them. Hell, one time I had doing the ring, and you can't take a normal person. I had a little pilot guy. Obviously, it might have been something more, but after he met my friends that evening, he didn't fly me back to any shows, but I had already sent the ring ahead, so my ring was being there, but I don't know, maybe I had a court date, who knows, with my history. But anyway, I had to get there fast, and this guy said, well, I've never been to a wrestling show. I mean, from the time I entered that arena, and you've got, oh my God, the characters. I mean, they're all dressed up, and they're there, and it's, I've told them, I was like, you've been to a circus, right? This ain't nothing. Because these people are, so don't be worried when you see a giant, and they might pull a rib on you because they're going to see your face immediately when, obviously you walk in and a cast of characters like that, and who are you with? And her, because I'm gone, and I have to go, I'm running late anyway, but yeah, I've seen many normal people run scared. I had help. Those boys were not nice because I couldn't bring anybody around. What
was it like back during that era? Because, and again, if I'm incorrect on something, please correct me. I don't remember too many ladies being involved at that particular time. You had Miss Elizabeth, of course, and then you pretty much had you, and you were the only female announcer that I recall seeing on any of the wrestling shows, World Class, at the time, AWA, Jim Crockett Promotions, all the shows that I could see, either via satellite or on normal syndicated television. So, I mean, that's what I say. And then I actually got to see some old Coliseum home videos, and I actually heard you doing the color with Bruce Pritchard and another gentleman. Oh, and I remember watching Hulk Hogan versus Ted DiBiase, and you were on the color. And I remember the old WWF WrestleMania VCR game, and I heard Mike McGuirk.
Yes, on a video game. Funny that I don't know any of. I have to have all these people, the fans out there say, well, you didn't know this? Well, no, you're on a video game, and then it's sent to you, and of course, how the internet and everything is, and I appreciate it. And there's pictures that I've never seen. In fact, the one that is running around, and it's with me and Gorilla. At that time, all I know is I had a vision, and I had to be in this business, and I wanted to do it the best way that I could without getting my hair pulled or punched in the stomach. It kind of was that way, but, accidents happen. And, just you have to be aware. And you know that the guys then, everybody took care of you. But you bet, it was I looked at it as that was the best way to do it and sell it. I had to find a brand, as they say, but it was something that I was not trying to be a personality whatsoever. I mean, it's because I think I'm still alive and the longevity to be able to talk what it's like when it was just Liz and I, and how primitive, and, we bring up the word divas, and I was like, whoa, wait a minute. I know it's acceptable now, but, anybody around that time was just like, we were a hindrance at sometimes, to be having you want a dressing room. Sometimes early on I would just go dressed, or else I would, climb in, because I was flying the ring for a while for Vince for about 4 years, probably 5, and then, but the first 3 I did without him ever knowing it, and that's kind of how it evolved, because, let's go back to the 80s, and I know that's a stretch for some, But it is when you look at how we've evolved, and we didn't have the cell phones, we didn't have anything, and we sure did. If we had a video camera, we weren't sending it through airwaves. We had nothing. So I kind of, after that, I kind of wanted to get further with Vince, and how else do you do it except send him a video? And so that's how it really, he had heard and he knew, you know, of the name, and I knew his dad and his mom through my dad. So it was just kind of, and it worked, but it didn't start out like that. It just started out as supplying a ring and going and spreading the word. What I believed, and I thought it was great, is what the business and what Vince wanted to do. And I was like, wow, because if you know earlier in your viewers, we had territories and you didn't, you know, run against. But I don't know, I love the talent, most of the talent, and how I got the job a lot. Terry Garvin, people, if you go out back to, you know, Jimmy Garvin, but this was Terry Garvin, and he'd worked for my parents, and just the connection, and it was a new time for everything and trying it, and this was to be on the cutting edge with Vince. It's kind of cool. You sit back now and like, oh man, I remember filming those Saturday night events. You know, I mean, I remember that, and I remember some of the stuff that they'll play that night and what I was doing, or in the back just scared to death, or if anybody listens, because the talent that you talk about and that I'm privileged to be around, and I really am, is to have. I admired the sport. I admired their talent. I admired them, you know, getting kicked and taking the bumps. So I really, the only thing that I feel pioneerish on is, well, at least in that division. But I'm so glad to at least have that the boys like me. That was the hardest, and not like, but respect. I'll take that back. I really wanted respect because I didn't ask, you know, that's what I told Liz. I was like, you're getting your bags carried, honey. You know, I'm doing this, and I'm being by myself. And that was a joke because I would say, you know, how everybody seems to always want something that somebody else has got. I didn't realize what I was doing, but I thought, man, wouldn't it be nice for somebody to be carrying my bags? And she was like, God, I'd like to be in your position. You know what you're doing, and you know, you're doing something that nobody else does. And I didn't think about it really, you guys. I didn't ever, and it worked out and evolved. It was pretty cool because they liked my voice. That was another thing. I followed after. I was like, man, I can do stuff live like I was used to, but now I'm in their environment and I'm not in a live show, so to speak. You know how a house show. So yeah,
sure.
They're different.
Yeah. Your father is going to be inducted into the 2015 Southern Wrestling Hall of Fame class later this year here in Fort Worth, Texas. He's going to join Steve Dr. Death Williams. The Bon Air family is also going to be inducted sometime this year. Steve Do It To It Cox. You know, the Southern Wrestling Hall of Fame already holds Stan the Lariat Hansen, Bruiser Brody, Jim Cornette. The list goes on and on and on.
Jim Cornette.
You were thrilled. Yeah, Jim Cornette.
He'll cut an interview.
Yeah, he did one earlier. I sat down with him earlier today, and he cut one before he went to OVW Wrestling tonight. But you were joyed, you were thrilled when I asked you to accept the induction. But how does that make you feel to be there to see your dad get inducted?
Well, it's what. You have a dad, you got to, I mean, and not only that, you know, my dad never thought that he'd even, you know, be remembered. And for that to go on, and I was like, are you kidding, Dad? You know, I think a little bit that he knew, but in the end, he kind of had thought that, he goes, oh, hell. But if you put him back in the dressing room, there it was. You could see him light up, you know. That was still familiar. He was still a wrestler, and it made him feel good to be around him. So to have him honored in a sport that he did so many great things, God Almighty! I mean, I can't even begin. You know, Brian Blair, which I'll drop a name, is a friend, and that's what I'm saying. Well, get up to this award. How it means. I missed that one that I understand was back east and was not notified. So I appreciate that I'm getting put on, that you're appreciating my dad, and you bet. I think it's a high honor, and I want everybody that's doing this and a part of that, and to be a part of that. But we're there for my dad, and that he's being noticed by by young people like you. It's nice. Heck yeah, it's my dad, and I've been proud of him ever since. Why do you think? I'm always looking for that approval, I think, from my dad, being that I was an only child. And no, we're not going to be talking about psychology. We're not putting Mike McGuirk on the couch right now and asking what's wrong with her. But I was really always wanting to look good in my dad's eye and be a part of a business that he loved, and it was tough and it was worldly, and you met great people. So yeah, and it taught me a lot, and it's still teaching me a lot. So you bet to be there in honor of it, and I have somebody. I think I've told you before, like on Facebook, or if somebody's out there in media, reach out or whatever. I think we'll plug those later. But they'll send me old photos of my dad, and it's like, wow. I never, my dad was blind when I came along. So it kind of was, he never saw me. I didn't get to see what he was like. I'd heard about it, and I see pictures. So I'm very proud of it. You bet. I'm proud. And it's an honor. And I hope we're going to get Max down there too, which is even like third generation. And he's a good kid. If anybody's watched him, and check out his pictures on Facebook, girls. He's single and he looks good. But anyway, I'm his mom. But he wrestled and went down in developmental for a while. And after he'd probably want to tell you that, but couple of head bangings and brought him back. It was like, let's regroup, and I think that was where he decided not to go back, because it's turned pretty brutal, and the money's bigger, so the competition's stiffer, so things happen. Glad it wasn't me. What are y'all doing? Did I put everybody to sleep? Is everybody listen to me?
No, ma'am, not at all.
Here. No, we're not asleep.
Pulled over that you saw me at 4 or 5, because I've had 12-year-olds come up and tell me that, and then we get to this thing. Yeah.
No, we're good. We're having a good time. Well, Mike, right now I'm gonna give you the floor. We've got Dan the Beast Severn and the world's most dangerous man, Ken Shamrock, are going to join us here in about 5 minutes at the top of the hour.
Let me get out of here before that.
There's two things. Number one, I'm going to get with you, and we're going to book a show one night, and we're just going to have you on. And that way we can talk to you a lot more in great detail. You're a fascinating guest, and we want to get more information. Especially, you said you opened yourself up, and you said you got a lot to say. So now we're going to get you back on.
Hey now,
number two.
I still have friends. I still have friends.
There's a website
quietly and dislodge their left shoulder, whichever they might give you the
no problem. Remember, we have Jim Cornette on this show, and there's only a few times he's polite, and it's usually when he doesn't feel well, so it's okay.
I'm not supposed to tell everybody, but the Samoans, they'll protect the women. They'll protect the women folks. So.
There's a website. There's a website that was just released, and it's a website that people can go to, wrestling promoters, people who are putting on conventions and whatnot, and book people like yourself. If you want to give us that website so our listeners can hear it, anybody who wants to bring in Mike McGuirk for a convention or for a show, go ahead and give us that website.
That's awesome. And I hope you all are. If not, be talking about this interview later on and say, hey, as we come and talk, if you can go and look at the roster and they're adding it and again, I'm lucky to be on there. And if somebody wants, I'm in there. So it's really nice. It's bookprowrestlers.com. And if you will also, it's I kind of repeat it a little bit, but it's also on if you check out the Facebook. But if you can just kind of remember, bookprowrestlers.com, and it should come up. If there's any question, Facebook me, call your radio station, call you. Hey, call you guys. You boys handle it, okay? Tell them how to get through.
All right. All right,
okay.
Well, Mike, thank you so much for coming on for a few moments. I apologize in such a short time. I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to email you on Facebook. We're going to schedule. I'm going to get with Michael. We're going to check our schedule. We're going to get you on another Wednesday night and just have you on and talk in more detail about your father, your son, and your career in pro wrestling. But thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Hey, thank you. Thank all your listeners, everybody. And it's been great. Thank you. And we still are. Happy New Year. See you in Vegas, everybody.
Thank you, Mike. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Mike McGuirk. She will be a part of the Southern Wrestling Hall of Fame ceremony coming up here real soon for IHWE. All right, Michael, real quick, I'm going to do this. Real quick. Trey, if you're on, Trey, I need you to, I just messaged you, I need you to call back in about 45 minutes. Call us back, and we will get you on. We're flying by the cup here. So call back. We'll get you on toward the end of the show. We'll talk about the offshoots. We promise you the time. You will get the time. We're getting ready to have the world's most dangerous man, Ken Shamrock, and Dan the Beast Severn on. I'm going to get that ready right now. So, Michael, how's it going tonight?
Things are going good, man. We've had a good time. Harley Race, JJ Dillon, excellent conversation. Already getting messages and emails from people. They want to have them back on again soon, so we're going to have to work on that one.
Being short with me? Oh. All right, great. All right, guys, well, I'm going to try to get my guest here going. Anybody who wants to hang out can. Anybody who wants to get off here, go right ahead. We're going to take over the last hour and get our two guests ready, but I want to thank everybody for filling in. Folks, as far as Chip Jarrett goes, sometimes things happen in real life that prohibit people from jumping on, just like tonight for me. Unfortunately, I couldn't be on for the whole show. For months I planned on being on here the whole time with Michael and just having a great time, and then unfortunately something came up on my end, some real life stuff, and unfortunately I could not be, and it's still having effect on us this week. I'm not going to get into it too much right now, but real life does happen sometimes. We do our due diligence. We confirm every guest before they come on, but sometimes things just happen. We can't avoid them. So, hopefully everything's all right in the Jarrett household. He's a very busy man with Global Force Wrestling. I will talk to Global Force Wrestling as I did to get this interview, and I will talk to him about rescheduling with Jeff. So, anyway, thank you, Harley Race. Thank you, J.J. Dillon. Thank you, Jim Cornette, for sitting down with me earlier today. And thank you, Mike McGuirk. Thank you, Morgan, Brian, and Joe. Thank you for picking up my slack. Michael, as always. Right now, I'm going to try to get my two guests scheduled and get them on the air. So, yes. So, anyway. So, I'm going to do that right now. And I ran in the house and jumped on here. So, just bear with me for a few moments.
Well, the old adage stays true, ladies and gentlemen. Live radio can always be fun, especially here on IHWE. So we do sometimes run by the seat of our pants on this show.
Oh, you're not kidding.
All right, I'm going to try to get one of our guests on, calling Dan the Beast Severn. And then I will try Mr. Shamrock. Talked to them earlier today, and both were good to go. Let's see.
The Cricket customer you have called is unavailable, either because the phone is off or is outside of the service area. Please try your call again later. Message 20 PHX2.
Okay, that's always good. Woo! All right, hold on real quick. I'm going to check my records. Me and Dan had an email thread going earlier. So, and then I want to get Dan on first and then get the world's most dangerous man.
I was going to say, it didn't quite sound like Mr. Severn.
No, it did not, but I might have had it dialed in wrong.
Not at all.
We're going to try this again.
I seem to remember somebody giving me a hard time about dialing a phone number recently, but...
Well...
Easy it's okay, man. I'll be nice. Right. As our anniversary, my anniversary present to you, I will be nice.
38 414 3859. 414 3859. Okay, we're going to try this again, folks. Bear with me. line. Yeah, we know that. Okay, folks, just give me a few moments. I'm going to keep trying. Michael, go ahead and speak while I try to get a hold of Mr. Severn.
No problem. I think we can do that. As we've been saying for the past few weeks, February 7th, IHWE California does make its debut here in Eureka at Redwood Acres Fairgrounds. As always, we'd like to say it, card subject to change. And once again, Joe, I will update our listeners that, yes, we have added someone else to the lineup. Buzz Anderson will now be taking on none other than Daniel Torch from SPW. He will be the opponent for Buzz Anderson, who is making his in-ring return after a couple years out of the ring. Buzz Anderson returning to take on the challenge of Daniel Torch. Also, Americos versus Gregory James, IHWE Texas, right here in the state of California. It's going to be an awesome match. Of course, we've always been saying it too, the ladies tag match. Andrea the Giant, yes, versus Delilah Doom versus the challenge of Sage Supreme and Mary Jane Payne. Going to be an excellent ladies tag team match there. Also, opening up our show, wild, crazy, cruiserweight action. Ricky Gibson versus Pat Large. The Rock God himself taking on the challenge of Pat Large to open the show at Redwood Acres Rumble in the Redwoods 2. Joe, help me out here. I'm starting to stumble.
Okay. Hold on real quick. Guys, hold on real quick. I got another number.
Hold on.
Clear all the lines so
Okay.
we can get Mr. Severn. Hello? Mr.
Nothing
Severn?
there, man. Call drop.
All right, I'm going to try this again.
Okay, Joe, now back to what we were talking about.
Okay, well, as you know, we got the Hall of Fame ceremony with the great Moondog Lonnie Main, and we have a Texas bull rope match. Oh, my God, you got Big Ugly. He is in one corner, and Levi Shapiro, is that his name?
Yes, Levi Shapiro is the challenger for Big Ugly.
Yeah, that's going to be one heck of a match, Texas bull rope match. And the triple main event, 3 championship matches. Thomas Shire defending the title against the evil member of the clan, Dr. Cleaver. And plus we got Rick Luxury defending the Gold Rush Wrestling title. He's coming in from San Francisco in exciting championship action. And our very first IHWE California champion will be crowned that night. In one corner, you've got HBQ Quiz. In the other corner, you've got Nate Andrews. What a war that's going to be. And also, we have an exciting tag team match. Speaking of the clan, Wade, Hess, and Thunder, they will be taking on the Honor Society. And from top to bottom, star-studded card, you got to be there. And we got a phone ringing, so let's hold on here.
Okay, let's see what happens.
All right. I'm waiting on Dan to get back to me. I'm going to go ahead and get Mr. Shamrock on here because we told him a certain time. So bear with me while I get Mr. Shamrock on the line.
Yes, sir.
We can do that. And speaking of Rick Luxury defending the Gold Rush Pro Wrestling title, just found out from Sparky Ballard, an open challenge has been made by Rick Luxury to defend that title. The challenge has not yet been accepted. As soon as we have some more information, we will let all our listeners know.
Yeah, careful with those open challenges because, you know, anybody in the back, they hear an open challenge, you just don't know what's going to happen.
Please enjoy this Verizon ringback tone while your party is reached.
All right, let me try this, folks. Try to get a hold of Mr. Shamrock.
Wow, we got classy all of a sudden. I like it.
Live radio.
Hello.
Yes, is this Ken?
It is.
Hey, Ken, this is David with IHWE Radio. How's it going?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. Thank you so much for joining us. We're running just a little behind tonight, so I do apologize.
No worries.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, on the line, we have a UFC Hall of Famer, MMA legend, professional wrestling legend, the world's most dangerous man, Ken Shamrock. Ken, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Oh, thank you for having me.
We are, Dan the Beast Severn is trying to call me on my cell phone right now. I'm going to tell him to call into the show. All right. Now I just sent my message to Mr. Severn. Ken, before Dan gets on here, I want to get this out. I know I've been reading and I've caught some of it. You are going to come out of retirement for a fight. Tell us a little bit about this. Tell us a little bit about that before we get Dan on.
Yeah. I haven't come out of retirement because I haven't retired yet. So just took some time off and decided to get an opportunity to get involved with this bare knuckle thing. I saw an opportunity here to get involved with something that's again on something that I believe is a cutting edge, something new that's been around a long time but has not been gathered in and organized. And so with that being said, I said, what a great opportunity to be involved again with something that's new and is on the cutting edge. And here I am getting ready to fight a guy who is also himself a legend. He's undefeated in bare knuckle, fighting more on the street type stuff. And myself, who is also very well known in IHWE in the beginning, where it was bare knuckle and mixed martial arts. And to be able for us two to get in the ring and be able to fight a bare knuckle fight in England on pay-per-view and be able to entertain the fans with something that they have always loved to watch, which is bare knuckle fighting.
All right, that sounds like it's going to be awesome. Okay, on the line, Dan, are you there?
I'm here. I hope, I don't know how good a reception we have, but I'm here.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, on the line, we have another UFC Hall of Famer, another MMA wrestling legend, Dan the Beast Severn. We've got Ken on the line. This is really cool. Two of my all-time favorites, both in MMA and professional wrestling, are on the line together right here, right now. Dan, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thanks for inviting me.
All right, so I'm going to pose this question to the both of you. I'm just going to kind of jump around here and not really go in chronological order. One of the things that Jim Cornette, who was on earlier, Ken, you had went to the WWF in 1997. Dan, you were the NWA World Heavyweight Champion. You were wrestling all over. I always wondered, because I'd watched everything y'all done in the UFC, and I mean, I'm just going to say this right now, without Ken Shamrock and Dan the Beast Severn, I don't think the UFC would be where it's at today. I think you guys are phenomenal. The fights you had were spectacular. You guys are just icons as far as the UFC and MMA goes, and I loved watching every time y'all got into the octagon, either against one another or against anybody else. I thought it was awesome. I'll throw it to you first, Ken. Y'all had two fights on pay-per-view, and then Jim Cornette was on the show a few weeks ago, and I don't know how true this is. Jim said he would scream at everybody in creative when both of y'all were in the WWF that you have Dan the Beast Severn and Ken Shamrock in the same organization at the same time. Why is this not on pay-per-view? Why are you not having the third match that everybody wants to see? Y'all did end up wrestling with each other, but it was just a few-minute match on Raw building up to a SummerSlam that involved Owen Hart and Steve Blackman. Ken, do you have any idea why they never put you guys in a WWF ring where you've got a little more leeway than in the octagon to have your third fight?
Yeah, first of all, I'll say, hey, how you doing, Dan? It's good that you're on. It's good talking with you, bro. It's always good to see the legend like Dan, who was there at my time, as healthy as he is, and the way he's kept himself and carried himself as a professional. It's good to talk to you, and good seeing you again, bro. I would have to say that I'm not sure why. When they brought him in, I thought to myself, okay, we're going to work a program. I worked a program with The Rock, and I worked it with, Owen, and I worked it with Steve Blackman and a couple other guys. And when they brought in Dan, I said, okay, well, I guess we're going to work a program together. Dan is probably the only one in the MMA world that has an understanding of getting in the ring and being able to put these matches together and really make them look the way they should. And so I really saw a great opportunity for us to be able to do more of a shoot style type work with his ability in mind. They put us together in the first match, really didn't give us time to even think about the match. It was just kind of thrown together. And I was a little bit shocked because there was nothing to build up to it. There was no setup. It was just done. And I think I agree with some of the comments is why there wasn't more effort put into writing something that would make sense for us to get involved with and be able to start moving towards a program together. It's almost like they just put it together and said, well, let's see what happens.
Dan, I'm going to throw the same question to you. I hope you can hear us. Jim Ross, and I watched the match the other day. It was on the network. They just added the whole Raw, and I watched it. Jim Ross sold it like it needed to be sold as far as a commentator. He talked about what y'all did in the UFC, and he made it. He said, Shamrock, Severn 3 is next. And, I mean, just like, you know, Riddick Bowe and Evander Holyfield 3. That's what he made it sound like. And then y'all came out and you did your match. Here comes Owen Hart. Here comes Steve Blackman. Within 4 or 5 minutes, it's over. Dan, I mean, we've had the conversation. I said about Cornette. He just, you know, he said it on this show. He said, you had the two most legitimate guys in wrestling or MMA at that time in the same organization. Why wouldn't you put them on pay-per-view? Dan, do you have any thoughts?
Well, I mean, honestly, all I would be doing is really speculating on the whole aspect right there. It was a match. I mean, it was given to them on a silver platter. There was really nothing to think about. We both have had matches with each other. We had both had splits in victories. And to be like, you know, to have a third match, a rubber match, I mean, it was an ideal type of situation. And, you know, Ken was right, you know, just based upon his ability, my ability, understanding the psychology, what could have happened right there, we could have benefited a great deal inside of that industry, and who knows where else it could have gone from. But you know, it's we were both there to do it. You know, a lot of times you rely upon a creative team to come up with this, but, you know, like you were saying before, I actually had a couple conversations with Jim Cornette, and Jim said that he goes, well, I can't use some of the colorful language he said, but they really do not understand what they have in front of them. So many times they have to take guys that really, they have to take guys and they actually have to fabricate these storylines where they were given a storyline and they were given one of the best storylines. Now, granted, the UFC wasn't quite at the amount of attention and notoriety that they have today, but it was on that build. Both Ken and I being from that pioneer type of era, it was a no-brainer. But you know, it wasn't. I just say creative team or someone just did not realize what they had been given.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it just it would be like a boxing promoter. It would be like Don King or Bob Arum having Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield under the same banner and not putting them against each other. Well, they did. We know what happened. They wanted to make money. So, and as much money as the WWF was, the business they were doing at the time, it just, I don't know, it was really weird. Ken, I think you had a fantastic career in the WWF. You got to work with all the top names. You came in, you were you know, your first night in, as far as, you know, being doing something rather other than a promo, you were part of one of the most historic matches of all time, which is Steve Austin and Bret Hart, WrestleMania 13 at the Rosemont. You were also involved in the big 10-man tag in Calgary, which, you know, some hardcore wrestling fans call that the best pay-per-view of all time, one of the greatest matches of all time, the 10-man tag in Calgary with the Hart Foundation. And then you were the first program that Shawn Michaels had right after the Montreal Screwjob. Another thing I'll tell you that Jim Cornette said, Ken, is one of the interviews he was doing about 1997 when he was in a creative meeting with Vince and Jim Ross and some other people, and they were talking about trying to get the belt off of Bret Hart, and Cornette said, just put him in the ring with Shamrock. You won't even have to do anything with the outcome. He'll get the belt off. So, but you know,
just to be fair, for Brett, that's not something I would have done.
Of course.
Whatever happened in those times, that was between Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, and Vince McMahon, and no one really knows what really happened. So it is what it is. It's water under the bridge, and we're here today, and we just move forward from it.
Of course. But you had a fantastic career in the WWF, and then but back to you and Dan. What do you? I'll throw this to you first, Ken. People still talk about the fights. They're always going to. They built the UFC. What do you take away from the business that you and Dan did? Especially, it's been, of course, it's in the past. You say we're moving on, but when you look back on it, what do you take from your whole experience of working with Dan?
Well, when we first came into this business, no one really knew what to expect. Bare knuckle, I thought it was going to be pro wrestling. They're going to say, okay, this is how it's going to work. Well, I went over and defended my title in Japan. 3 days before the event, I fly into Denver, and not realizing this is really what it is. There's no holds barred. And so when the fight happened, we went through the process. We did all the things we needed to do. I got caught by Hoist with the gi after they took my shoes away, said it was a weapon, but allowed him to wear his gi. All those things happened. And then we started into the political part of the no holds barred about, why this and why that. Well, when Dan Severn came in, he wore his wrestling shoes. He was the classic college wrestler, thick, strong, good takedowns, good foundation, and not on top of it, he was a beast. I mean, he literally went in there, he was throwing guys on their heads. He was just tearing through the competition. And that immediately after me and Hoist Gracie had our program, and I ended up, pretty much chasing Hoist down and tried to put a beating on him after we finally got in the ring with put a beating on him. Watching Dan Severn put a beating on Hoist and then just making a mistake, I really saw an opportunity there since Hoist was going to be gone. After I put a beating on him, he ended up leaving, and I thought, you know what, this is going to come down to me and Dan Severn. He's tearing through the competition. He's usually the last man standing, and I knew that it was going to be between me and him. And so we had our opportunity to fight each other. He stormed through the ultimate, and did a tremendous job there. And then when he came in to fight me, I realized what he was, because that's what I was. I was a wrestler. I made the same mistakes over in Japan when I was trying to learn the submission game over there that he was making earlier on in his career. So I knew what to capitalize on, and he made those mistakes. But just as I did, he did also. He made a mistake, realized what the mistake was, went back to the drawing board and corrected the mistakes that he was making to become a better MMA fighter or no-holds-barred fighter. So the second time we fought, even though there was a lot of other complications that went along with that match with some political things in the communities and all the other stuff going on, the bottom line is that he was able to make himself better and not make those mistakes that he made before. And so I give him huge credit for that. I've always had respect for Dan, even though in the media and some of the conferences that we've had with each other, I was always trying to get into his head. That's just me, nothing personal. That's who I was and how I fought. And but I've always respected him and on his ability and what he's accomplished in this sport.
Dan, same question to you. When you look back on your business that you did with Ken, what do you take from it?
Well, I mean, it was, again, just to the listeners that are listening to it, I mean, most of the people, they're so just used to seeing the mixed martial arts product. I don't know if he actually painted really the picture of what that NHB no-holds-barred era was all about. Today's MMA fighter, there's approximately 37 rules. Part of those 37 rules, having weight classes, having time periods known as rounds, wearing gloves, and fighting one opponent in a given evening. That's a tame product compared to that no-holds-barred era where there were only the two rules that you had to abide by, that being no biting and no eye gouging. And that was it. And people were like, oh, wait, because I've had people, I've told the story over and over again, they'd be like, well, you can't punch someone in the gonads or something like this, I go, no. I said, what you didn't understand is the rules were no biting, no eye gouging. There was a classic match where you saw Keith Hackney, who had Joe Son down on the ground, and Keith Hackney had Joe Son by the throat trying to crush and tear out his esophagus, and I think he punched Joe Son 6 or 7 times, ready to go right to the gonads, and people... I had that match on an old VHS tape for a number of years that I used to always show to like an all-male type of a classroom, and I would tell like the other instructor, I go, watch all the males as they watch this particular match, and the first time that they get struck, you know, all the guys are like going, oh, you can't do that, and then they see the second strike, and then literally the male sitting in their seat would actually physically start to cover up their own genitalia and stuff like this, because every guy's been hit at least once to realize that doesn't feel so good, and they just couldn't believe that was allowed in that match. Again, just to bring out one example of the headbutts in the whole 9 yards. So I just want your listeners to realize it was a whole different type of era. It was the bare-knuckled, and having the 8-man tournament, the same 2-hour pay-per-view that runs today, where there's individual matches, you had to face and defeat 3 people. So that was just a whole different time era. So, the overall athletes are much improved. A lot of the athletes were one-dimensional. I even throw myself in that same category. I was just a wrestler. That's if you just jumped into it and was flying by the seat of my pants in the process. And I think a lot of people in the beginning, because I did not even know the UFC existed, because their pay-per-view market didn't reach everywhere. It was only in major cities. So I actually, I was living in Coldwater, Michigan, a very small rural community. So it wasn't until a friend who watched the first 2 UFCs, copies of my old VHS tape, and then shows it to me and says, you ought to think about doing this. And I'm seeing people getting soccer kicked in the face, teeth flying on out. I'm like, well, these are not skills that I possess. But then he said, well, look at this skinny guy doing jiu-jitsu. Of course, he was before Hoist Gracie. And make a long story short, I did get involved in this industry. Ultimately coming down to Ken and I doing our agenda there as well. And it was, as Ken says, we knew what each other's strengths were going into it. You definitely have to respect each other's strengths, try to avoid their strengths, and try to capitalize on any kind of weakness right there. So I know I didn't really answer your question, but I just think that your listeners need to understand what they're watching, because inside the United States, it's a very forgetful community. Everything is like yesterday. I could go north to Canada, I can go south to Mexico, and I'm recognized more there than I am inside of my own home country of the United States. But that's just because we are this throwaway type of society. But and it's kind of a shame, because no other sport like this mixed martial arts or cage fighting that you want to refer to it as has been around for 21 years, just over 21 years. Has grown to this magnitude, and the really cool part is the history is still alive. You cannot say that about the NFL, the NBA, the NHL. All of their pioneers are dead. You still have a chance to speak to a Hoist Gracie, a Ken Shamrock, a Dan Severn, and that's the cool part, because you don't simply have to go by reading something in a book. You can actually talk to them now.
All right. Well, that's great. Dan, thank you so much for giving our listeners that summary and your thoughts on the MMA, and how you came to the UFC, and that was I love your outlook on the whole thing. I'm going to pose this question to both of y'all. We're going to sign you guys off because I know you guys are extremely busy. You got a lot going on. Ken, we spoke briefly about the bare knuckle fight you're going to be doing in England. If there's anything else you want to plug, go right ahead, sir.
Yeah, just a bare knuckle fight. I'm fighting a guy up there who it's kind of funny too, because a lot of people look at him and say, well, that guy, he doesn't look very tough. And I think to myself, I watched the Baltimore Ravens go in as a wild card team and would win games 9-7 or 6-3. And offense, they just were horrible when they were going through these games, but they were winning, and they ended up winning the Super Bowl. And I thought to myself, things don't have to be pretty. A lot of times when these guys come in here, if they're fighting and they're undefeated, even though they don't look all that great, but for some reason they're winning. And as long as somebody keeps winning a fight, there's something there. Because you're always going to bring out somebody a little bit better that thinks they can beat you. But yet this guy has stayed undefeated. He's been fighting since he was little like this. It's kind of their tribe thing. And it may not look pretty at all. It may not look like he's got a whole lot of skill, but he wins. So when they say that, I kind of laughed and said, I have to disagree with that because the record speaks differently. And so with me going into this fight, I'm definitely taking that very seriously. I understand that this guy obviously has a reason why he's undefeated. He's tough, and I'm going to have to come up with a very good game plan to beat him, which I will. And it's going to give me an opportunity to have a platform to be able to speak from and to be able to let people understand what bare knuckle is and will always be, because so much is being put on about wearing gloves and making things safer, which is not true. You got to look at that where people get punched in the head over and over again, and you can look at a guy when he fights bare knuckle, and in that first particular fight, you watch a guy go bare knuckle, and you see a lot of blood because he gets cut. And so you see a lot of blood, and it just looks a lot worse than it is, as opposed to a boxing match where a guy has sparred 150 rounds preparing for the fight, which has been so much brain trauma and head trauma because he's been sparring that way for quite some time to prepare for this fight. Then he goes into the fight with lighter gloves, and then he fights a 12-round fight or a 10-round fight, and then takes more punishment. And when you look at it, it doesn't look dangerous. It doesn't look as bad as somebody getting bloodied up. But the bottom line is this: you cannot die from scar tissue, but you can die from brain trauma. And this is the truth about bare knuckle and gloves. And then I have a platform to speak from now that I'm involved with this bare knuckle, and I have an opportunity to be able to bring something that is exciting and people want to see it to the forefront the way it should be, instead of being underground and in the alleyway somewhere, because this is what hand-to-hand combat had started out as and will be, and we put gloves on to say it's safer, and that is not true. So I want to bring it back out. I want people to be able to see what it's like to see two guys stand toe-to-toe and be able to fight one another bare knuckle. It may not look pretty, it may look dangerous, but it's a lot safer than what we're putting out today.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you can also visit Ken Shamrock's website. It's kenshamrock.com. Follow him on Twitter at ShamrockKen, world's most dangerous man, UFC Hall of Famer, WWE Intercontinental Champ, the first TNA champion. Dan, stay on the line. Ken, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight, and best of luck in your upcoming fight.
You betcha. Hey, Dan, God bless you, brother, and good luck in your endeavors, and hope to talk to you soon.
Nope, same to you, Ken. Good luck in the upcoming match. I'll give you a shout there some other time.
All right, brother.
Thank you, Ken. All right, Dan Severn, you're on the line. Thank you so much for hanging with us. All right, Dan, I know you are. I commend you, sir. You're still touring the country. You're still training. You're still wrestling. You wrestled not too long ago for a total traditional championship wrestling, Matt Rivera's organization. I met you, from a personal standpoint, I want to say I met Dan Severn 3 different times. He's come down to Texas 3 different times to wrestle for Ken Taylor's NWA Southwest. Twice he was defending NWA World Champion against Rugged Rod Price and Red Dog Rodney Bonneau, Rodney Mack for you WWE fans, and then he actually came down here to wrestle Ogawa for the NWA World title. That was the rematch. I got to see the rematch, which was really cool. Dan was so cool. He was so nice. He had his belts. He talked to me. And I remember that, Dan. I remember that because of the way you were. I was a fan for life, and I still am. And I tell Cornette that all the time. I said, Dan to be Severn, he's the nicest guy in the business. He's also the same guy who can twist you around and put you in about 45 different holes in about 5 minutes. So, real quick, you have the floor to promote anything you want, sir. Go right ahead.
Well, actually, I just want to talk about, if anyone wants to know more about who I am, what I've done, I'll just simply say my website at dansevern.com. Because I've had a very long, extensive career in amateur wrestling. I'm still involved in that industry. I've been a professional wrestler since 1992. I still do professional wrestling, and I've been involved in the cage fighting industry since 1994, and just basically retired as of January 2013. You realize in my final couple matches, I'm getting up 3 decades of age and the whole 9 yards. I finally just left because I didn't want some young buck to wreck me into retirement and then having health issues. But out of those matches, and the time that you had met me, I do, if I do have a couple of minutes to talk about that match against Ogawa. The match against Ogawa. Now, sure. That match, Ken Taylor's the promoter. He brought me in, and Ogawa can't really speak a lick of English, and he's got a Japanese interpreter. And basically, I'm just kind of cutting to the chase here right now. The match is only supposed to go basically about 2 minutes. That's it. All it's supposed to do is we're supposed to both end up in some type of a leg lock, heel hook type of thing. We both roll out of the ring, and it's basically a double count out, but Ogawa retains the belt. And right. Ken Taylor was beside himself. Listen to this. He goes, this is supposed to be an NWA heavyweight. He goes, he's like, I can't say some words and stuff like this. And I basically I agreed to it. I tried to say other things there through the course of the conversation, but it wasn't coming through. And I just said I finally agreed, and Ogawa and the interpreter walked away. And now Ken Taylor looks at me. He's like, he goes, this match is absolutely going to suck. It's going to be the worst NWA title defense ever. And I go, Ken, calm down. I go, how long is the match slated for? He goes, well, 30 minutes. I guess you'll have a 30-minute match then. He goes, you just, I go, no. I said, the first 2 minutes of this match, 2 or 3 minutes, is going to suck. I said, the moment that I kick out of his leg lock, as we roll out, I'll go along with the agenda, and then once the referee starts counting, I'm going to kick loose, and I'm going to roll right back into the ring, and I'm going to break the count. Now, for basically the next 28 minutes, it's going to be real interesting because Ogawa doesn't have a clue as to what's going to happen, nor do I, but that's called old-fashioned wrestling. We're going to get after it at this point in time.
That's awesome, and I was there, yes.
Not only did that happen, and we went the full 30 minutes, that the bell rings, Ogawa was trying to leave. I start a chant for 5 more minutes. I get him in the ring for 5 more minutes on top of that because I was basically goading him and stuff like this because I was getting the better of him in that match. So, right. All I know is Ken Taylor was all smiles after he goes, Dan Severn, he goes, you are the only person I know who can work a shoot and shoot a work. So I don't know how many people will ever even understand what I just said there just out to you, but that's the beauty. That's what I tell people. I go, you don't understand what I'm capable of doing. Right. It just I to have started a cage fighting career when I did, I've defied age barriers all the way through. I was the oldest rookie ever for the WWF at the time. Started a cage fighting career back in 1994. 36, just getting ready to turn 37. No one starts at that age. They retire, but that's when opportunity presents itself. And point blank, there's only 4 people in the world that have over 100 cage matches, and I'm one of the 4. There's only 3 in the world with over 100 victories. I'm one of the 3. Now, the ironic part is I faced the other 3 I defeated the other 3, and the closest one to my age is 15 years my junior. So I tell people I'm in a classification all by myself.
Yes.
I am the only triple crown champion, which means I won one of their normal 8-man tournaments. I won the ultimate tournament, was where they brought back champions and or runner-ups. First time you actually knew ahead of time who your first opponent was going to be. It was still the bare-knuckle type of action. And out of a 2-hour pay-per-view, I was inside that octagon cage just over 1 hour between my 3 opponents, and that was in Denver, Colorado, mile-high elevation.
Yes.
So I defied some odds, and the two other factors are stronger. The fact is I'm lifetime chemical free. There is a reason why I will outlive most of my opponents, and I've only outlived four of my opponents. Actually, I've already outlived 4 of my MMA opponents. And when it comes to professional wrestling, what I used to call my wall of fame, because of all the guys, in order to get up on my wall, I had to have wrestled with them or be somehow in the ring with them. Now I simply refer to that as the obituary column because most of them are dead.
Yes, practically, yes.
Well, Dan, I agree. Yeah, so I know I'm going on, but I'm just...
No, it's fine. It's fine.
I just want people to realize I'm a very unique commodity. I have never been in a fight in my entire life, but I have been a competitor my entire life. I did not possess the skills to pursue boxing or kickboxing or Muay Thai because I don't have those kind of skills. But when I knew I could utilize my wrestling or my grappling ability, I would step into the cage with anybody, including King Kong, and I would have given King Kong a run for his money.
Yes, you had. Yes, you would have. DanSevern.com is the website. You can follow him on Twitter at DanBSevern. Dan, thank you so much for joining me, and anytime you have anything you want us to promote, you shoot me an email, boss.
Well, just bring me back on in 6 months, and I'll let you know what I've been up to since then. How's that?
All right, Dan, sounds good. Thank you, sir. Have a good night.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Dan the Beast Severn, UFC Hall of Famer, WWE Attitude Star, former NWA World Heavyweight Champion. We are cutting it close. We still got to run an interview I did with Joe Kent. Real quick, we're going to bring on Trey McLean from the Offshoots. Trey, I'm sorry for bumping you, sir. I'm glad you're on. How's it going?
It's going good, sir. And by the way, first of all, my thoughts and prayers are with you and your family for what y'all are going through.
Thank you.
Second of all, I was looking at the show promo, what you had coming on, where you said you have J.J. Dillon, Dan the Beast Severn, Mike McGuirk, Jim Cornette, and more. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am more. Go ahead.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Trey, so many times I was on wrestling shows, and I was always plus more. And, you know, that. So, I mean, if you walk into my house, there's nothing but posters that say plus more. And I'm like, that's me, plus more. So there you go. Real quick, Trey, like I said, I do apologize. We're going to bring you back on when we have more time. We wanted to get you on tonight because we feel like the show is going to be the most downloaded. So real quick, theoffshoots.com. You've had many IHWE superstars on your shows. You've had Michael and Joe on to talk about February 7th, IHWE California Rumble in the Redwoods too. You were at the IHWE Old School Hustle getting some interviews. You had an interview with Jim Cornette and some other superstars. Tell us real quick about the Offshoots and where people can find the shows, download them, and all that good stuff.
Well, as of this week, we are on 2 other platforms as well, so it's the perfect time to announce all this. First of all, you can find us on Facebook. Just go to The Offshoots, and we have a page. All our shows are uploaded to that page. You can go on Twitter. Just go at The Offshoots. We're now officially on iTunes, where once again you can just type in The Offshoots, hit subscribe. You will get all of our shows. We have not just the Offshoot show. We have Southern Discomfort with Farmer Billy Hills. We have Shooting the Bull with Bronze Bull Aaron Nill. We have In the Padded Cell with Christian Lotus, and coming soon to the Offshoot Network. Now, we're also going to have the Nigel Rabbit Show.
Oh, boy. Nigel Rabbit. There's somebody I know very, very well. He was just reinstated to IHWE by Jim Cornette, and the Rabbit Empire is actually going to be contending for the tag team titles on February 28th at All Out Insanity. Real quick, we're going to get this in, then we're going to go to our taped interview with Joe Kent. Michael, on February 28th, there's going to be a live simulcast. You and Joe are going to be hosting from sunny California, and Trey's going to be over here at All Out Insanity getting some interviews, and you're going to get everybody ready for All Out Insanity. Am I correct?
Yes, that is correct. We are hosting the live pre-show here on IHWE Radio. Joe and I from sunny California with our special correspondent, Trey McLean from the Offshoots.
That'd be me.
So maybe we can work something out for IHWE California as well. Maybe we can do that on Saturday, February 7th. So that would be great. We'll figure that out later on. But Trey,
I'll get Brian to be your correspondent.
Is it theoffshoots.com or just offshoots.com?
Our original website you can go to is theoffshoots.podbean.com.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you can also type in The Offshoots on Facebook, and it'll get you all the information. Trey, thank you so much for calling back in. I'm sorry about bumping you. Thanks for being a part of this awesome show tonight. We've had some great guests. Trey McLean of The Offshoots, he's a good friend of the show, and he has a great series of podcasts himself. Trey, thanks again, buddy, for your prayers, and we'll talk to you soon. Okay, bud?
And if anything, sir, just real quickly, it's an honor to go on in the main event after Dan the Beast Severn, Ken Shamrock, Jim Cornette, J.J. Dillon. The list went on, and then I go on second to last. I'm honored, sir.
All right, Trey. Have a good night. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thanks, Trey.
Bye-bye. All right, ladies and gentlemen, right now we're going to go to an interview I conducted with Joe Kent, and then we will be back with more IHWE Radio. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the one-year anniversary of IHWE Radio. Thank you so much for joining us wherever you are. This has been a fantastic show so far, and we got a lot more to go. So right now I'm taking a few moments and standing by with he's the host, proprietor, entrepreneur. He's all these things wrapped into one incredible human being. Joe Kent, BoyWrestlingFan.com. He's also the official webmaster of IHWE, which is a title that he probably doesn't tell too many people about. But I'm standing by with Joe. Joe, what's up? Welcome to my show for a change.
Well, I tell everybody that I'm the title that you actually gave me, which is the Director of Web Media for IHWE, which would look great on a resume, I'm sure.
It just sounds so much better than Webmaster.
It
because,
does.
I mean, let's face it, back when, 10 years ago, all it took was, such and such title at Geocities or iWarp or ItGo or 8mm.com. So you're right. Director of Web Media does sound a hell of a lot better. And due to all the work that you do, you deserve that and a lot more, sir. But welcome to IHWE Radio.
You definitely put me to work, but I'm glad to be on your show for once. I'm not usually on this end of the microphone.
Well, and such a lineup. We've had so many legendary names just tonight, but over the course of a year, I got introduced to you. I want to say a couple years ago, thanks to Justin Ruff of Ruff's Rumblings. He's a journalist and a fan first and foremost, and we're lucky to have him down here in Dallas Fort Worth. And he's attended some of our shows. But a couple years ago, he put me in touch with you, and we just struck it. And you've helped me on a few times. You've had Thomas Shire. You've had Black Bart. You actually arranged it for us to come on, me, James Beard, and Black Bart, when our friend Maniac Matt Bourne passed away. So we've had a lot of fun on your show. We got Jim Cornette on for what seemed to sound like an hour, and 30 minutes of that was just his introduction.
Yeah.
No, BWF Radio was great. I really enjoyed being on there. We talk a lot about podcasts on this show, and there's a difference of just some guy pulling up a microphone and just getting on there and just talking about nonsense and just saying what sucked and what he's a big mark for. BWF Radio is not like that at all. It's a group of people that love professional wrestling, and they're also very entertaining. BWF Radio is It's great for business. I go on there as much as possible to promote IHWE. They've had some great guests on, and they have a real fun show. I really enjoy being on there, Joe. So how did the concept begin?
I'm sitting around one night and I'm just bored out of my skull, and I knew like a little bit of how to build websites from like GeoCities and all that back in the day. So it's funny you mentioned that. So I knew a little bit of how to make websites, and I was like, I want to make a website, and I'm bored. What do I do? And I looked up I saw this article. It was, how you make money from blogging, and it says write a blog about something you love, something you're familiar with, and something you love. And man, I really love professional wrestling. I've been a fan since I was 8 years old. I remember Hulk Hogan, and I'm going to get that big dude in a cage at WrestleMania. And, so I'm like, I'm going to do a wrestling blog. And I started a wrestling blog, boardwrestlingfan.com. And I tell you, that original design was absolutely horrible and terrible. And over the years, I've learned how to really design websites and actually make them look good and be what they call semantic. It's anybody can look at my code and be like, oh, okay, that's what he did. But Board Wrestling Fan is really my testing ground for anything that I'm trying to learn how to do. So we're on our 11th different design over the last 6 years we've been doing this. And of course I've got my great staff over there. I've got JT jumped on, and G and Mark who do the podcast with me are just great. And we've had over the years Drow Goddess, who's from down there in Texas, wrote our Impact review for a while, as well as Jamie Kennedy over in Scotland also filled that gig very briefly. And Justin Ruff has been a part of our site. In fact, I think he also did the Impact reviews for a little while, if I'm not mistaken. That's a popular job around here, I guess. But Justin's great. And one day we just kind of decided right around Survivor Series, hey, let's do a weekly podcast. And we started recording on Tuesdays. We quickly moved it to Sundays because it worked better with everybody's schedules. And Justin was on some of those early ones, and Justin was the one that started saying, hey, why don't we get some interviews? I got the Dragon Gate USA champion, Johnny Gargano, wants to come on and do an interview. And next thing you know, I've got Johnny's picture hanging on my studio wall, and it says, I'm glad I could be your first, because he was the first one. Justin Ruff got him for us. In fact, I know Johnny just wrestled for IHWE not too long ago.
Yeah.
And of course he put me in touch with you and a bunch of great talent from down around that area, some indie talent. He also got he did one of Jerry Lynn's last interviews, which was great. And just it kind of grew from there, and we've had so many awesome interviews over the years. I'd be remiss if I don't mention Cassidy Haynes from CheapHeat.com for getting us a lot of interviews as well. Because he's, besides you, he's our biggest contributor for guests.
Well, that's great. Like I said, BWF Radio, as soon as the first interview I did, I think I mostly did it with Justin. I think you were just kind of hanging back. But,
yeah.
I knew a good show. I've done a few podcasts. Some of them I refuse to have anything to go with ever again, and we've talked about it, you, me, and Michael. And then we started doing IHWE Radio, and you've been a huge help. You've done some audio clippings for us, some audio editing. You've got us on iTunes. You put us on the BWF network as far as iTunes go. You've been a huge helping in the company, especially now that you're doing the website.
I did have you guys on iTunes, but you guys kind of just stopped sending me the files.
Yeah, exactly. I am the world's worst. I mean, it's amazing that anything ever gets done. Because I juggle so many things around. Thankfully, Michael has taken the initiative on a lot of things, but even now he's swamped. So we need to start getting these shows back to you on iTunes. But you do you've done your own websites for so long, and then I hit you up and I was like, hey, why don't you build our website for IHWE? So what's it like working with IHWE? And I like to think that, you've been around the business for a while as far as going to shows and knowing the ins and outs. I like to think of IHWE as not just your typical indie promotion. It seems like we shoot higher, the people that have been in and out, just the way we promote ourselves. And I think we have a great I think we have a huge span, like not just our market, but our YouTube numbers. Like they're of course they're the biggest in Texas, and then they're the second biggest in New York, and then California, and it goes. And then we analyze it by country, and it's like America, or North America, of course, and then it goes England, and then Germany, and then Russia, and I'm like, really? I mean, I have a hard time believing that this little show we do down here is being watched 150 times in Russia. I mean, what is it like doing that?
Well, it's cool, man, because I've watched some IHWE TV, and I love the presentation you guys got going on down there, and I've told you that before. Yeah. And that's a huge part of it, and the wrestling is great too, so that helps. You know what I mean? Like I love my indie here. I love Empire State Wrestling. Give them a shout out. I just saw them this past Saturday night. They put on another great show. But I mean, when it comes to production value, like when I watch IHWE TV, it's like watching, I don't want to say WWE, but it's still better than watching Ring of Honor, and because you guys can actually afford lights above the ring, I guess. But
well, you know what? The venue has those. If the venue didn't have them, then we wouldn't have them. But like I said, we strive to make a lot of make our production look better and whatnot. So, but yeah, the people you've had on, of course, you had Maniac Matt Bourne on, you had Johnny Gargano on, you had Jim Cornette on. Lately, you've had a string of the ECW originals. Yeah. I believe Gardner was on. I want to say Mikey Whipwreck was on.
Mikey was scheduled, and Mikey didn't make it. We never managed to reschedule. In fact, I should probably get back on that and try and get him back on. But yeah, we had Joel Gardner. We had Lou D'Angeli, who was Sign Guy Dudley, and later Louis Dangerously. He's now the director of marketing for Cirque du Soleil out in Las Vegas.
Oh, wow.
Which is
nice.
Incredible.
He's making a lot more money there.
I'm sure he is, absolutely. He said they recruited him for that job because he was doing that job very briefly for WWE and their ECW brand when that was still around.
Right. Couple days.
Yeah, we've had so many awesome guests over the years, and I've gotten to meet some of them in person. Gregory Iron stands out really, the handicap hero.
Yeah.
Which, if anybody's not familiar with his story, I suggest they look it up because this guy's wrestling with one good arm. In fact, Johnny Gargano in that first interview said, Gregory Iron is his inspiration because Gregory Iron's in the gym with one arm. In much better shape than guys like me with two arms, and Greg's been cool. We're looking to reschedule him, and he actually, to go back to one of the points you made earlier, he said to us, a lot of guys that ask me to do podcasts, it's just some 13-year-old kid that just wants to talk to a wrestler. And it's like, yeah, that's not us, man. Like, we like to do serious interviews. A lot of times I get in trouble because I don't maybe fully research things before I get into them, like Matt Bourne.
And then you have promoters like me that book 6 weeks of date in a 3-month span, and then you hit me up the night before, and I'm like, all right, you're going to get Thomas Shire. And you're like, okay, don't know who the hell Thomas Shire is. All right, we're just going to wing this. So
he's the IHWE World Champion.
Yeah, exactly.
Thomas was a great guest, man. He really was. We get some guests where I will be like, okay, who the hell is that? I don't even know who that is. We just had Black G's, who is the CZW World Champion. We had him on last Sunday, and the only thing I knew about CZW going into this interview was, okay, light tubes, and they're just violent for the sake of being violent. Nobody in that company can work a damn.
Right.
And then I watched Cage of Death 16, which is where Black G's won the title. I watched his promo leading up to the event, and I got an education. Otherwise, those guys can work, but and they throw in the light tubes and all that other crap. And in fact, I know Mark on my show actually went to find a copy of Cage of Death 16 because I had mentioned Black G's won the title by taking what the fuck is it? A weed whacker. Am I allowed to swear on the show? Because I just did.
Well, whatever.
I guess. We'll edit it in post. Anyway.
We've had Jim Cornette.
Okay, yeah.
A few times. So he's on this show, the anniversary show. So
that's true.
I'm sure any Yeah, I'm sure any fines have already been levied. So go right ahead.
If that's the only F-bomb on a show with Harley Race and Jim Cornette and some of these other guys you got on this show.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
But yeah,
a lot of great talent has come out of CZW. They have a niche. They have they have a certain presentation, and over the years, and I mean, for the longest time, Chris Hero was CZW, and Chris Hero had that aura about him that he was just a hardcore guy. And then, he got involved in the Ring of Honor storyline, the Invasion, and the big Cage of Death, CCW versus Ring of Honor. And then I think people started to realize that, hey, this guy can actually go. And then, I don't know if it was around that time or earlier that he had all those matches with CM Punk down at IWA. So, I mean, yeah, they're Miss Dyslexia worked. She's the queen of the ring. She's wrestled for CCW. And, of course, Necro Butcher, the guy who kind of got his break in IHWE, of course, he's done everything up there. So, they have a certain, a niche and a market. But, a lot of times, you'll have an idea of your head of what a certain company is. And then, like us, I mean, if you insane hardcore wrestling entertainment, for the longest time, we were a majority hardcore. I mean, Necro Butcher was our champion, so that kind of gives you an idea. But, now we do just an old school with some new school wrestling. So, I mean, I understand completely what you're saying. But, tell us all about BWF, the website, and tell us about the shows, where people can find them, iTunes, all that stuff.
Okay. BoardWrestlingFan.com is our home base. That's where everything comes from. We actually just this week moved the podcast. We do it live on Sundays at 2 p.m. You can listen to it live on Sundays at 2 p.m. We just moved it directly onto BoardWrestlingFan.com now, so you can go there every Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern, click on podcasts, and you can listen to the show live, chat along with us in our chat box there, and be a part of the show. And as far as the podcast is, the website, we're bloggers. We blog when we get the inspiration too. Mark Noyce, our gentleman from England, has his own podcast on Tuesdays as well. We're always looking for, if anybody is passionate about pro wrestling, wants to write about it, let us know. You could just comment on our things or Facebook us at Board Wrestling Fan on Facebook, facebook.com /Board Wrestling Fan. Twitter, we're at Board Wrestling Fan. That's Board Wrestling Fan without vowels. You can catch the podcast. If you don't want to listen to it live, you can download it directly from BoardWrestlingFan.com, also at CheapHeat.com, which is one of our great sources for wrestling news, and also a supplier of some of our bigger name guests. Along with IHWE, of course. And you can get that on Stitcher and iTunes and a site called Blueberry. That's BLUBRRY.com, which that's where our stats are through. So if you download it from there, I'll know. But yeah, I mean, anybody wants to jump on and be a part of it, just let us know, and we're always up for new people.
Every Sunday, the gentlemen and ladies, because they do have ladies that join in from time to time, from BoardWrestlingFan.com, jump in with both feet and conversate about the world of professional wrestling. It is a very entertaining show. They have guests on from time to time. They have, but they're on every week, no matter what. Every now and then, you could listen to myself. Michael McCurdy's been on. IHWE Heavyweight Champion Thomas Shire, Hall of Famers, Jim Cornette, Black Bart, Johnny Gargano has also been on there, as is the number one contender for the IHWE Championship, Charlie Haas.
Yep.
And you will continue to see an influx of IHWE talent on Board Wrestling Fan. They're a wonderful partner. Joe is fantastic. He does whatever I need him to do whenever I need him to do it. So you're great. I want to thank you publicly on the air for everything you've done for IHWE.
I appreciate it.
Check it out, BoardWrestlingFan.com. And
if anybody wants to know what it's like to work for David Fuller, go back and listen to the interview with Michael McCurdy.
Yes, and you know what? I can't even add anything to that. So, but anyway, thank you, Joe. Appreciate you joining us, and we'll be back with more of the IHWE Anniversary Celebration right after this. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back on IHWE Radio. We have about 1 minute left of our live show, and but we're going to continue recording. So if you're going to download this, stay tuned. There's more IHWE Radio coming up next. We're going to talk a little more. Thank you to everybody who was on the show tonight. Thank you to Brian. Thank you to Joe. Thank you to Michael. Thank you to Morgan and all of our guests. It's been a trying week. My grandmother passed away Friday, and it's just been a very trying week. So I want to thank everybody who pulled together time to make this show awesome. Thank everybody for supporting IHWE over the last year. Michael, do you want to say anything before we sign off? You got 30 seconds.
First off, man, well, we can go over a little bit. First off, man, condolences from my family to yours. I know what it's like, man, so I got to say right now, though, you proved tonight you are a professional. No one would know anything was going on the way you came on here tonight. Anyways, I'd like to thank J.J. Dillon, Harley Race for coming on, Shamrock, Severn. Amazing show for our first anniversary. Brian, I know you're still out there. You've been hanging on here as long as I have, man. Thank you. Joe Souza had to, phone died, battery died, so he wasn't able to join us for the rest of the show. But, you know, once again, he was happy to be part of this. Thank you, Joe, for being part of this. And I got nothing else to say except for look forward to more IHWE Radio in the next year to come. Like I said, next week we're going to be joined by Dr. Mike Leno. He's going to be a correspondent with our show now. We're going to be doing live podcasts, pre-shows from all the IHWE events this year, including IHWE California's debut on February 7th. And, yeah, Best of IHWE Radio on the offshoots. IHWE Anniversary Issue magazine coming out soon. IHWE Magazine Issue number 2 coming out in April. We just finished our first year of IHWE Radio. We're starting on our second, and we got a lot more to come in 2015. So thank you, everybody, for listening, for buying the product, for buying the tickets, for coming to the shows, for reading the magazine. I appreciate it. David appreciates it. I am so happy to be a part of this IHWE brand. David, thank you for bringing me on as a host a year ago, man. I never thought I'd still be doing this right now, but I am. I enjoy it, and I'll be back every week.
Brian, do you got anything to add, buddy?
Well, just want to say it's been a real honor being part of this. It's been a great experience getting to represent you at the Cauliflower Alley Club reunion, which I know we'll do again in April. Looking forward to being with Joe and Michael behind the scenes on February 7th. Looking forward to that, and I got the time off proved for that, so my condolences to what you were going through with the loss of grandmother. Hope the funeral goes well. Hope the visitation went well. Yeah, I went through this. My grandfather passing away on Easter Sunday at 103 years old. This was back in 2013, so I can relate to what you're going through now. So
thank you.
Prayers and just for your wife, for your baby, and who knows what's going through Lucas's mind right now, but at least it'll be a blessed time for you tomorrow. So looking forward to greater and better things for IHWE Radio.
Well, thank you guys. Yeah, you know, baby doesn't really know what's going on right now. He's you know, and that's probably a good thing. There'll be a time and a place to explain it. Fact of the matter is, you know, I'm gonna, you know, family has asked my wife and I to speak tomorrow at the service, which, you know, I've spoken so many times in public places, and you know, most of the time it's not a problem, but tomorrow it's going to be a little harder. But you know, my son got to meet her, and you know, so that's what we take solace in. But everybody who sent condolences, I appreciate it. You know, it's not anything that you prepare for, and don't matter how old they are. My great grandmother passed away in 2009 at the age of 101. It doesn't matter. You know, you're never prepared. You know, you can prepare yourself all you want. You prepare yourself all you want. It doesn't matter. So anyway, but anybody who sent any kind of regards, messages, emails, Facebook, tweets, texts, whatever, thank you. It really means a lot. I really do appreciate it. We've had a fantastic first year of IHWE Radio. The guest list we've had just tonight, it's been freaking phenomenal. We were going to play some clips tonight, but we booked this show so stat, and I wanted it this way, honestly. I don't believe in doing an anniversary show any more than doing it. Go hard or go home. So, and look at the list we've had over the year. We've had the $1 Million Man. We've had Mick Foley, Gorgeous Gary Young, Stan Delariat Hansen, Jim Cornette, J.J. Dillon. We were at the Call for Alley Club 2 nights in a row. Kevin Bonner. The list goes on and on and on of the guests we've had all year. So there's only one way to commemorate all that in one night, and that's with the list we had tonight. So everybody who was on the air, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody who listened. Go download this show. You're getting to hear some exclusive footage, brother, because this is exclusive. You're only going to hear this if you download it. That's when people hit stop on their MP3 or Windows Media Player now when I start doing that. So anyway, IHWE Radio will be back at its normal time next week. Normal format. We're starting our second year. We are so excited. We are so stoked. IHWE's Rumble in the Redwoods 2 in California, Eureka, is coming up on February 7th. IHWE All Out of Sanity is going to be on February 28th. We got business coming. We got a lot of stuff going on. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Brian, again. Thank you, Joe Sousa. Thank you, Michael, for taking over tonight when I couldn't be on the air. And again, Harley Race, J.J. Dillon, Jim Cornette, Joe Kent, Trey McLean, Morgan Dollar, Mike McGuirk, Dan Severn, and Ken Shamrock, thank you so much for making this night so fantastic on the air for IHWE Radio. All you fans, I hope you've enjoyed listening to all the stories. It was nice to be a fan again. It's nice to be a fan every once in a while. Everybody have a blessed and wonderful week. And one more thing before I sign off. Family, if you got them, tell them that you love them, folks, because one day you won't be able to anymore. Thank you, and good night. Happy anniversary to IHWE Radio.